chit-chat a-hole.
Wildlife refuges. I mean, you look at this, you look at what we do with our wildlife. Medicine and medical and what we're doing. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup. Nobody guarding your potatoes.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
This is my sister. You can all have her. I hear she's very good.
A lot of very bad things are happening in Nicaragua. Give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go person, woman, man, camera, TV. That's amazing. How did you do that? Bags of soup. We have that. It's as wide as it can be. They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
Medicine and medical and what we're doing.
You using the whole fist, Doc?
And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup. I do it because I have like a good memory, because I'm cognitively there.
Captain's log.
Hello, people, yeah. How you doing? We're settling in. Oh, yes. How you doing? All right. It's Friday, Friday, Friday. Every time lately that Friday rolls around, and I'm reminded that it's an actual Friday instead of just some random day in a series of days with no weekend in sight. You know, the French, while not having a word for entrepreneur, apparently, according to George W. Bush, also don't have a word for weekend. So they just say le weekend, which is kind of a dick move. But, you know, being French is kind of a dick move in and of itself. I mean, historically speaking. Lafayette notwithstanding. But anyways, every time Friday rolls around, I keep going to the, what goes through my head is Friday night, Friday night, Friday, 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 from Nutty Professor. Anybody do that? Is there a day of the week that the only reason you remember it is because it, you know, just another manic Monday, you know, or you go, this would be a good 2 for Tuesdays. I love 2 for Tuesdays on KLOS when they used to have that, where they played 2 songs by your favorite artists on Tuesdays in between bathroom breaks. Something like that. Yo, to all the Semites out there, there still seems to be, it's curious enough, a pervasive idea that somehow I am a Semite. I am not. I mean, there's not that there's anything wrong with that, but I are not. And I'm surprised at the number of people that I know fairly closely that believe that I'm some form of Semitic. It's just curious. I'm not. I'm a mix. I'm a mutt, but I'm not. Yeah, raised Christian in Kentucky, but yeah. That said, it's just funny that it's come up a couple of times in like interviews with people, like when I'm doing interviews, and they're like, you as a Jewish person, and I'm like, no, what? Where did that come from? Is it literally is that some sort of like weird comedian racism? Like you have to be. I mean, you're a comedian and you're white, so you must be Jewish, right? That's yeah. Just because many Jews are masters of comedy doesn't mean comedians are Jewish. I know that's what it seems to be. I honestly, yeah, that's true. Because Hal is always suspect. That might be it. That may be it. Hal is a very, it's like being named Ira or something. I think that's probably, yeah. Are there Jewish Masons? Of course there are. There are Masons of every faith. But yeah, hope Hal. Oh, I'm not mad at anybody. It was not, you were not scolded, Heather. You were in with a group of a couple people who said that. Fear not. I'm not worried about you, and I appreciate you coming back. And hi, twitch.tv/Hal Sparks, folks. And hi, everybody at YouTube. I love you and adore you, and happy Friday, and hi. And Periscope, I don't know about you guys. I literally, since I've been able to affect the settings over at Facebook, I have, let's see, which includes, by the way, graphics, polls, question, feature link, dashboard. Let's go to dashboard. Got it. I have somebody who was watching the show, and it was set up for viewing. Let's see, turn on generated captions. There you go. It has to be turned on every time to do captions. I cannot speak to the quality of the captions, and I'm a fairly good speaker when I'm not in a big rush or dealing with some ridiculousness, and I have no idea what when I'm doing voices or character bits or going on one of my rants or rambles, how that will end up as far as captions on Facebook. But someone who was hearing impaired had asked about turning those back on, and I had not turned them off. It was just a Facebook thing. Now that I'm doing this, so yeah, there you go. Periscope is the bomb. It might be. It may be somebody lit the wick and ran away. I wouldn't say that Periscope is the bomb. I would say it's more like a social media IED. I mean, yeah. So there you go. Trump said Biden hates God and guns. That's because he forgot guts goes with that. We went over that yesterday. Today, so the president is not. He has no public events today. So we get to play a little bit of catch up. And it's a call-in interview that we're going to be doing on Lou Dobbs' show. Now, I'm going to apologize ahead of time that during this show you have to look at Lou Dobbs' face. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry. And I will find a way to make it up to you. I will, eventually I'll do a shirtless sketch for Sexy Liberal. I'll do something. I don't know what. But hi, Deirdre. How you doing today? You okay? I'm sorry, I'm just catching up with the chat as it just loads. Hello, I hope you're well. Everybody send their love. And V. Gabriel, I hope you are feeling better today, and happy birthday to you. Everybody wish V. Gabriel a happy birthday. That's a good thing. And CSL, I hope yours was fantastic. I will message you later about when we can Zoom, because this morning was very full. Oh, I'm sorry, Deirdre. I'm very sorry to hear that. Deirdre, my sincere condolences. I'm so sorry. I didn't see that at the beginning. But much love to you and your family. I'm sorry you're going through that, especially now when it's hard to be close to someone. I will do my best to remain cheery and give you some laughs during this one, because that's my job. And if it's too much or too little, or you want to watch later, or you want to rejoin us at some point, you're more than welcome to come and go as you please. But 100% without pressure, or just be who you need to be today. And it's okay. And so all of our love to you as well in this. In this, I'm checking out the chat, and they're all saying it as well. So there you go. Yeah, and thank you guys for saying that to her as well. And Heather, fear not. I don't. Let me be abundantly clear in this situation. I personally, Mike Engels, thank you so much for gifting the subs to those folks. That's fantastic. I don't do mad on here. I get aggravated like we all do, but none of this reaches the level of my genuine anger. It doesn't get to have that. I save that for personal experiences. Like I have a ceiling on my anger, my annoyance, my rage, even to some degree my joy. I get excited about stuff, but it doesn't ever peg into my kid was born territory kind of joy. And my anger doesn't get into the, somebody did something awful to a friend of mine and I know that person personally kind of anger. You know what I mean? It's within these certain confines so that I can function in the world and don't give myself away, right? So when somebody says something, if I, how do you reply to comments here? I usually speak sometimes, Alex2799, when I can. A lot of times I'm just rolling with the show and everybody's talking amongst themselves, and I try to jump in. Thanks, Cassie. I try. For a crazy person, I'm pretty level-headed. But the idea is that I'm not giving my emotional content away to strangers. Certainly not strangers on the internet. With all deference to the ones I've actually in our chat room who I've met in person or I have a bit of a history with that's on here or whatever. You have to take everything that comes at you with a grain of salt, no matter what, and especially on the internet. Like the one thing I think has been the blessing of the of our kind of lockdown, quarantine, dealing with all this kind of stuff, spending a lot more time maybe online and kind of confined to our houses, is that it's been in the middle of having this perspective that there are 163,000 people who have died so far. The targeted is going to be 300,000 possibly by December, well within the projection, the initial projection of just if you have a functioning government, what you can get it between 100 and 250,000. And while that is genuinely serious stuff. People are going through genuine heartache. People are going through are genuinely losing their business forever and ever. Okay, and they will have a hard time coming back from that. These people deserve sympathy and support and love during this time, and defense in cases that they may be taken advantage of or not given the necessary means to take care of themselves. And that's why the negotiation in Congress matters, those kind of things. But ultimately, I think if we've learned anything, it's that trolling just is not, it does not have the sharpness of game it used to have. It just simply does not. In the face of something serious, James, well, she's got good taste, obviously. She married you. And so, thank you, Philly Dana. Oh, thanks, Mimi. Oh, yeah, that aired this morning. My son's birthday, first time he's on one coast, I'm on the other. I miss him so much. I would be there, but COVID-19. Exactly. Like, these are serious situations, Arlene. These are serious moments in our lives. And so some rando on the internet yelling something that's supposed to be insulting, the idea that would land anyways when under normal circumstances, I've always found absurd, but especially in this situation. You know what I mean? Especially in a situation where, America's losing lives at a clip of another 9/11 every 3 days. Some dude going, "Who are you, Trump 2020?" Like yelling that in a chat room. Honest to God, does that land for anybody anymore? That's the one thing, it's why they always talk about like an alien invasion, or my old bit about bringing back the dinosaurs gets rid of a lot of BS when it comes to people arguing amongst themselves, is because the minor and outlier aspects of your argument retract to the essential important pieces and kind of remind you how to categorize them. So that myself, like that's been one of the things that I've noticed in this is people chucking,
They're not
words.
allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
And, they try to, trolling just, I mean, honestly, they're just operating with one ball right now. It just does not have the oomph. So, yeah. So that's been rather pleasant because it makes it much more comical in that regard and sort of pathetic and flailing. Hal had an argument about VA Choice Act. They just don't get it. Yeah, well, give them the link. That'll do it. Yeah, trolling is absolutely overrated, Cassie. That's the thing. It's like it has no. Yeah, it's and Francie says this shit is exhausting and draining. No, it isn't. This is not exhausting and draining. Okay, it isn't. It's only that way if you allow it to take that from you. You can seize the emotional power back because the reality of your physical person is the things that can exhaust and make you sick. The rest of it is your mental state, and you have complete command over that. You can see something and perceive it differently one day versus the next, which if that's ever true, it's always true. So you have a responsibility, and that's basically why we gather here and why these moments, that we hang out together, these couple of hours, while you're taking the rest of this news cycle seriously, while you're gathering the information that you need to be a well-informed voter and all that kind of stuff. While I do feel like I deliver that, the most important aspect of it is to shower Trump in particular, but all of his sycophantic supporters with as much ridicule and absurdist commentary as I possibly can, so that it takes some of that pressure off, so you can get your perspective back. And that's crucial. You want to be in command of your own headspace. And I feel like because the media is taking Trump seriously far too often when he is an inserious human being, it leaves people kind of feeling like they have to hang on his every word as if it's important, as if it won't pass like he says the disease will. You know what? COVID might be with us for a little while. COVID might come and go. There might be like SARS or MERS, it may fluctuate in and out of the society over the next 10 years. We may find that they have to isolate certain areas and protect people or come up with treatments that deal with this kind of a hyper infection. That may be true, but I'll tell you what will end the Trump presidency. By hook or by crook, it will end, as will he as a human being. And there will be a period when most of us will look back on these times and reflect on them with a level of perspective that we to some degree could have maintained in the moment. So that's the drive here. And any of the poor trolls who are flailing around, I know. You're not going to get any of that Macedonian Russian cash if you don't get in here and start scrapping the Trump 20 and 20 and QAnon hashtagging. I know you're trying very hard, and you're adorable. You really are. But and I understand everybody needs to make a living, but you're going to really have to up your game as far as facts and content, and maybe, I'm going on a limb here. Maybe pick another person to back. You know what I mean? Because maybe it's your hero. Maybe it's that Trump is a complete loser. Because the reality is, everything you think about Biden, your dude is losing to him horribly. So if you think that, things that Biden says and does reflect poorly on Biden, imagine how they reflect on your guy who's 8 to 11 to maybe 15 points behind him in some cases. You know what I mean? Like, what does that say about your boy? I mean, you can't roll in. Pence 2020 is not happening. Bernie 2020 is not happening either. P.S. That's ridiculous. But try harder. I mean, that's a good troll. I guess that's a good attempt at trolling. It's like, pretend you're a Bernie supporter and you're going to cross your arms and not vote, because that'll gin up people and get people upset. And you're kind of make them think you're part of the their side, so they feel like there's a little bit of circular firing squad. Still, that's falling apart horribly. I mean, but the reality is that Trump fans are coming to the harsh reality, the conclusion that their guy doesn't really give a crap about governing, that it's an ego fight for him, and if he can jettison them and protect his ego at the same time, he wouldn't think twice about it. He would step on every one of his own followers' faces to get a snow cone. Every single one. Like there is no genuine thought in that man's head that doesn't involve his own personal, individual self-interest at the expense of other people. That's the weird part. Because as much as Trump is one of these guys who, is always trying to win and that kind of stuff, I could forgive that of some people. I love heavy metal frontmen. I love big egos. I have no problem with that. I think, it's why I love David Lee Roth as much as I do. People who love themselves, I'm in. Knock yourself out. But if the way you can recognize your own self-love is only through besting or destroying or laying waste to other people, while that might give you limited success in business, it will ultimately capsize your business, and it makes you a terrible public servant. It's shitty in a cop. It's terrible in a doctor. It's awful in a president or a senator or a House member. So, other than that, I have no opinion. Shall we jump right into this? This is fun. Okay, so with your sampling of voters is weighted for Democrats, Marxists, of course, Biden is ahead then. No. They're asking a lot of Republicans, and the Republicans are sick of them too. How am I working for the deep state? Totally. Yeah. By the way, I'd like to thank our sponsor, George Soros and the Globalist Fund for providing today's production, and Raid Shadow Legends and some VPN. No, I'm kidding. I don't do any of those things. This show is brought to you by Patreon people who appreciate what I say and want me to keep saying it. That's it. That's all. They are not hyper-sampling Democrats. They are sampling... where's my check, Soros? I agree. Come on, Soros. I mean, George Soros, at least send some people to subscribe on Twitch. You can do that, can't you? So, if there was a deep state, Trump would not be president right now. Precisely. It's a joke. It's a clown show. He knows... the only reason he exists in their brain space at all, because had he not been, because he's protected by the fact that if they pull the thread on New York real estate, it would collapse. Like the financial impact would be ginormous. So it's kind of like when the mob runs things. They just give it a pass, nip away at the sides, and if they can take one person out without wrecking the whole thing, they'll do it. Like Kushner's dad, for example. So, but in the case of like Donald Trump, he just benefited from the mafia'd up aspect of New York for a very long time, and the fact that there's a lot of foreign money shuffling around the real estate there. If you took the foreign money out of New York real estate, it would be about the same as Chicago real estate. It wouldn't be that extraordinary. It wouldn't be the off-the-charts expensive that it is. And Trump has benefited from that for a very long time, but only as a almost on a promotional level or on a PR level, because on paper the man's broke. He's been broke his whole life. The only time he had extra money was when his dad was giving it to him. Once he took over the company, it has never, not once, not ever had a single day of profit. Every blue-collar worker in this country can say at some point in their life, even if it was difficult, they had more to show for the money that they got than the work that they did. They had a little extra money to go see a movie, or to go out to dinner, or to buy an engagement ring, or to go shopping, or buy a new hat. Like, they had something to show for it that wasn't debt. They could put stuff on a credit card, but they didn't have to. Their debt, was they had about $3,000 or $6,000 in credit cards that they used in rotation, maybe that kind of thing. If they even past the point of like paying off the student loan, after that's over, every dime you make, that it isn't going to bills is profit. You as an individual are making, and you should be proud of that fact. That's why the working class and the middle class of this country need to be more revered than they are in my estimation. Donald Trump has never been that. He made $300,000 a year when he was 11 years old so his dad could dodge taxes. And he had to borrow $56 million from his brother and sister's funds to keep his company afloat in the 90s. He wrote Art of the Deal when he was losing more on New York real estate than anyone in New York history. His entire career has been fart air and PR. It's the kind of person that has to call the Inquirer or Forbes and pretend to be someone else. The dude couldn't even... Trump was so broke, he couldn't afford to pay for a PR person to spew bullshit on his behalf. That is incredible. So yeah, there we go. This is, so today, sorry. I honestly don't understand why Lou Dobbs doesn't have a show on CBN. Because this dude is on a Pat Robertson bullet train. And there will be a time. There will be a time when Dobbs is, giggling to himself with a co-host on CBN. It's gonna happen. Just count on it. Oh yeah, the Dobbs. It's true. It's because there's an interview. This is like a half-hour interview that Trump did on Fox Business with Lou Dobbs. He also did Fox and Friends, but he rambled so long, we'll be here all goddamn night. I have a picture of a big ball. I don't know. So, yeah. Good times. Here we go.
States Donald Trump here in just moments live.
Very exciting. We're all very excited, Lou. So are you. Let's do this.
I do want to set just a bit of the scene.
Okay, all right. We're setting the scene. I've not heard this, so it's going to be good. Natalie, hi.
This interview tonight comes as the radical Dems have been trying to...
The radical Dems. Okay, which Dems are those? Because clearly it's not the Biden-Harris Bass Rice crowd.
A nightmare for democracy this November. The Party of Hate pushing mail-in...
Wait, the Party of Hate. I didn't realize are we the Party of Hate now?
It's a nightmare for democracy this November. The Party of Hate...
That's what we've been branded, the Party of Hate. Dems mail-in ballot push.
Pushing mail-in...
Demses.
Ballots is the only safe way to vote during the China virus pandemic. They're also pushing as many left-wing activists and anarchists as they can into the streets of America.
Oh, guys, have you guys been doing your work? Have you been pushing as many radical leftist, Antifa, Antichrist people, anarchists into the street as possible? 78% of them have to be on the street by tonight. And I think we're all behind. I mean, I mainly push them into the streets to destroy statues because I'm sick of them sleeping on my couch, and I don't like when they get on my YouTube, the stuff that shows up in the search results after that. It's just terrible. Make sure you push them out into the street, especially if they're on the sidewalk holding a sign, I suppose. Don't do that. Don't push Antifa people into the street when there's traffic. I'm just saying. That was a joke.
America. Just when we thought that with the China virus pandemic, that the radical Dems would stand up for national security, the national interest, and be shoulder to shoulder with the president in confronting more threats, more crises than any president since Abraham Lincoln.
Whoa. More threats, more crises than any president since Abraham Lincoln. Does it count, though, that we literally have a pandemic because he got rid of the pandemic response team, and we literally had riots in the streets about the killing of George Floyd, largely because he dismantled the COPS program that Obama and Biden put in place after Ferguson that's supposed to help with these things? So like 2 years ago to the day, he dismantled both of those things, and then within 2 years, shit hits fan.
It is stunning to see.
It is very stunning.
What has actually been the result. I understand.
The result is Trump has no idea how to lead and be in charge of anything if he's not just skating on his predecessor's successes, be it the Obama administration's economy or his father's.
And the president is on the phone now, and I want to go to him straight away.
Yeah, because he'll hang up if he'll get distracted and wander off the tarmac.
Mr. President, we're delighted to have you with us on the broadcast.
I'm not quite sure. You are sure, Lou.
And we hope that...
Why is it? You're not going to take my picture, are you? Why does it? That's his tough photo, by the way. They use this one at Fox all the time. Solid neck gina, though. Like, you've given them... You had photo clearance. They use this one over and over again. They also, and you guys know how hard I work on my green screen here. That's a hard cut. Look around the outside of his hair. Like he had his wispy fenders of hair on the sides of his head, and they clearly dialed this back.
You can stay with us a while to go through all of these issues, but my first question...
Oh, good. He's going to stay with us a while. You know, kind of like that taste after you vomit in your own mouth. At what point do you expect the Democrat Party to align itself with the national interest and the welfare of American citizens? You mean by wanting a moratorium on evictions and an extension of the $600 a week for unemployment insurance, and making sure that there's a plan in place for kids to go back to school safely, and making sure that there's a testing and tracing program, as well as therapeutics in line before we start sending kids back to school and they become super spreaders. Say together, even for the next time while you're at it, a pandemic response team that's keeping track of all the other possible infections that are out there as well on top of this one, so that we don't get doubled up this fall. You mean that kind of shit? You mean the stuff that they did before he dismantled it?
Well, maybe the point of great success. You know, we were at that point where we had a tremendous, nobody covered it better than you, Lou, and we had a tremendous economy. We had the best
biggest deficit, double what the Obama administration had, largest military spending in peacetime for no particular reason, just building ships, knowing full well that would artificially flood the engine.
Numbers, best stock market numbers, although they're catching up. We're very close. But we had the best
stock market loves unemployment
numbers that you've ever seen, and
largest GDP drop in history, 10% unemployment.
Best numbers anybody's ever seen.
All you had to do was keep the pandemic response team. They might have been able to nip this in the bud last December.
Probably the best numbers ever for an economy.
Listen to this. Listen, guys, because we hear this shit all the time. Listen, Lou is just flipping papers in the background. Listen.
Beating China badly, beating everybody badly. And they were coming along because they weren't able to fight that.
He's just sitting there, like Lou Dobbs knows exactly what he's saying. So, like, while the president's talking, he's just like... Either that or he's like, what? I'm looking at these, and there's none of this makes any sense. I'm looking at... I've got papers, and you were supposed to say true shit, and now this is... It's like he's got a Foley artist making a fireplace with crumpled paper.
And the COVID actually, now they try and, play that game. But they were...
The COVID, they now try and play that game. The what?
Very badly. And they were coming along because they weren't able to fight that. And the COVID actually, now they try and, play that game. But they were very close. There's no...
Play that game. Aw, thank you, Martina in Norway. That's amazing. That's the only Norwegian I know. It's just the beginning of grace. I say it at at Christmas time because my stepmother, my dad's wife, is Norwegian. She's American, but her background's Norwegian. So thank you so much.
Nothing like success for bringing people together. Sometimes they don't want to necessarily come for that reason, but we were getting much closer. And this came, and now, I don't know if you heard some of the numbers on cars and manufacturing, but...
Yeah, used cars numbers are through the roof. Yeah, this is literally, how Kudlow can you get that you're like, we're proud of used car sales in the United States.
Some of the numbers released yesterday and today were absolutely incredible, beyond anybody's belief.
No, it's completely believable that people who are looking at the economy and having to tighten their belts for at least a year are downsizing and buying a used car.
We are seeing some remarkable numbers with an economy that has, at one point, was all but shut down by the China virus. We have seen now new voices arise saying to you that, Mr. President, you should shut down the economy again. I don't know where the Federal Reserve gets these people, Mr. President.
I don't know, banks, Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Oxford. I don't know, like, where the Federal Reserve gets anything. It's deep state stuff. I mean, honestly now. And yes, Jillian, I did read Marielle Trump's book, and I appreciated it. There's some definitely creepy stuff in it. I thought about doing some like live readings of it as part of our thing. I might do a thing for Sexy Liberal 3 with it. But to me, I was not surprised because I've been following this bullshit forever, but it seems to excuse Trump because of his childhood. And all I ever think when people use that as an excuse is that I think of all the people who are raised with alcoholic parents who are assholes and treated them like garbage, who didn't turn out to be narcissistic, sexual assaulters.
But Neil Kashkari, the president of the Minneapolis Fed.
Oh, Minneapolis. Ugh, again. The little Annapolis, always kicking my ass. You're going to have to send in the National Guard to go through the Minneapolis Fed like a knife through butter, a smear on a pancake.
Saying that we need to shut down the entire economy for 4 to 6 weeks, saying that we have plenty of money to sustain the economy through such a closure. It's remarkable, the voices that are chiming in to say...
Yeah, these crazy, radical, lefty Bernie Sanders people on the Fed. What?
Shut down the economy. It's as if they haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, it's like, what are they looking at? 163,000 dead and doubling that by Christmas? I mean, honestly, why would that be a call to shut down the economy for 6 weeks solid, get it knocked out nationwide, hold the line so that we don't have to have this soft, rolling, crappy version of those 6 weeks over the course of 8 months?
The past 4 or 5 months.
Well, that's not going to happen, Lou.
Yeah, Gail, he's obviously the Minneapolis Fed is not asking for the permanent shutdown, but look to Lou Dobbs and Trump to turn a 6-week recommendation into a blanket permanent shutdown.
We did is we were, as we said, setting records in every way, and then we got hit by the plague. I call it the China plague, China virus, call it whatever you want. It's got like 20 different names.
No, it's COVID-19. We all call it one thing. You're the only one confused. The only reason he thinks it's got multiple names is because 15 of the ones he wants to call it are racist.
And we got hit hard.
And it hits his numbers, and everybody goes, "Don't call it that." Well, I'll call it something else. How about China virus?
And we did close up. We had to close it up, and we did the right thing. We saved millions of lives.
Oh, God.
We would have had millions of lives. We have a number now which is unacceptable.
Is there a line in the whole, like, if you repeat a lie long enough and strong enough, people will believe it? That whole kind of Goebbels idea that you just repeat the propaganda and you got to grease it and just say it all the time. Is there an ROI on that? Is there a return on investment where it just starts a diminished return on investment? Is that what it is? Just you say it enough, at a certain point, people are like, oh no, we're back to thinking it's bullshit again. Like there's this like shoehorn cyclical thing.
But
I'm a communist. Why would I be a communist? What makes you think I'm a communist?
Anything more than one person is unacceptable because they could have stopped.
Well, apparently it's not, but because we got to open and we got to open quickly.
They could have stopped it from coming in. You say it all the time.
Yeah, if they could have stopped it coming in from China, why didn't you stop it leaving Washington State? Why is this not the Tacoma virus?
He stopped it from coming into China, but then...
Yes, I'm several communists all in one. And I'm also a Marxist and a black supremacist, apparently.
and stop it from here,
Right.
Europe, and the rest of the world.
SARS-CoV-2 is what causes COVID-19. COVID-19 is the actual disease caused by that. So both of those snowy bullets will work.
We closed it down, and we're now opening it up, and it looks like it's a V. It's absolutely a V.
No, it's not. Unless you write your V's like this, it's actually going to be more like a U, but with a long drag in the middle. And what the Minneapolis Fed is trying to do is lock it down for 3 weeks so it turns it into a solid V. But Trump doesn't want to do the lockdown, so he's automatically flattening that curve because he's stupid.
But we're not going back to shutdowns now. We understand the disease. We understand the problems with elderly, especially elderly with heart or diabetes.
With heart or diabetes. It's these old people with heart. I see them in old AT&T phone commercials or on those ads that show you sick dogs. You always see those old people with heart. I like my old people heartless and full of processed foods.
Or other problems, and we're able to take care of them. We understand it now, but we're not shutting down. We've done really very well. The numbers are looking very good, by the way, in Florida, Texas, and California. They're heading down.
Yeah, because they shut stuff down again. They start going up. They open up. Or they had gone down because of the full lockdown. They reopened. The numbers start going up again. So they just told everybody, don't go out again. And then they dip. And like clockwork, because that's what stops the spread. But it's all this half-assed back and forth while it arcs its way up. Just, yeah.
Right. And a lot of people don't realize those numbers, the combination between Florida and Texas never rose to a significant portion of the deaths in New York State. To the point of...
Yeah. Do you want them to? You see, it hit New York for 6 weeks before any kind of lockdown. That's why. But if you open it wide open again, you're going to see the New York... Like, they've been mitigating as it's come in and hit the state. I don't know. This is like one of those people who, like... This is the same right-winger, by the way, that would tout the crime bill, for example, or something like that, is a good thing, which I think it was as well. But, like, hyper-lefties or progressives will go, crime was going down. Well, it's linked to the crime bill. Like, we put the crime bill in, and then crime's gone down ever since. People are staying in jail longer. Yeah, and they're committing fewer crimes because they stay in jail. Maybe it's not the communities. Maybe it's the individuals that you're locking up. It's the same kind of thing.
Of opening this economy. Anthony Fauci.
Anthony Fauci.
You're one of your doctors on the task force saying that, finally acknowledging very clearly and somewhat loudly that you saved lives and a great number of American lives by shutting down travel from China.
Yeah, the reason he's saying that is to get you to understand that locking down travel and people staying in, they're stroking his ego so that he'll understand the value of lockdowns. He's not. But these guys mistake ass kissing to get him to do the baseline from, like, genuine congratulations.
Finally, a clear statement by Fauci on that particular issue. There are other ambiguities that he's left hanging, but that one finally...
Oh, it's terrible when he leaves them hanging.
He is being direct and forthright.
Thanks, Rob. Every time I hear Trump say the economy is a V, I think of the series of the lizard people. Oh no, Hal, I think it should be watching Alex Jones. Well, we are infotainmentwars.com for a reason.
But speaking of Fauci, he is also acknowledging that schools, not all of them, but most schools need to reopen. The economy needs to be reopened. You're also getting support for that.
No. Yes, they need to reopen. But they don't need to reopen right now. They need a structure in place because they should reopen. They shouldn't reopen absent the other shit. Like, I don't understand how hard this is to fathom. People need to go back to work. I would like to go back to touring, for example. Every musician I know would like to go back to doing live shows. It would be nice to rehearse with my band and not worry about one of us endangering a family member of the other members of the band. like all of that stuff. Yeah, we need that. We want that. That's important to our lives. However, it's like saying we all need to eat right and exercise while we're trying to plug holes in a lifeboat in shark-infested water. Yeah, yes, we do need to eat right and exercise. If we survive this first.
Initiative, you were standing absolutely alone saying we've got to reopen the economy. Now the Secretary General of the United Nations is joining in to say absolutely open up the economy, put the kids in schools, because it could be otherwise a generational disaster for the entire world.
What are you talking about? You don't think kids could... You think kids missing 3 months of school is going to be detrimental to them long term? First of all, these are men who don't raise their own children. Like, Trump never changed a diaper, never caught a cold from a kid who came home. And anybody who has children and actually interacts with them, helps them with their schoolwork, parent shit like I do. You know what it's like to go through those things. These guys have no idea what that's like. That's women's work and they hand it off to somebody else. They have no idea. But first of all, the Secretary of the UN is talking about most of the European countries who've gotten a handle on it, and especially places like Italy and Spain where they had it really bad, and then they've isolated it, and they've really set up tracking and tracing.
Your thoughts?
Well, we are opening the economy very rapidly, and
which is dumb. Yeah, you can open it rapidly, but that's like saying we're letting the water in the boat.
Some of the blue states, we wish they'd do it, and they'd do it fast. We're asking them to do it. But they like to keep it closed. It'll probably open up on...
They like to keep it closed. Yeah, all these blue states with the biggest economies on Earth like to keep it closed. That's why Amazon and Google and Apple and the entertainment entities on the East and West Coasts and the exchanges in Chicago, the livestock exchange, all those kinds. They'd love to just keep it shut down, twiddling their thumbs. None of them actually want to do what they do for a living. This is them projecting. This is them projecting again. So, this is what they think about work. This is Lou Dobbs and Donald Trump. This is what they think about actual work. Blue states support terrorism. Bye.
November 4th, you understand that. They'll announce that they're opening on November 4th. There's a lot of politics involved in some of these states that are closed. It's, let's say, Democrat governors, we're being kind. We'll say Democrat governors, some radical left and maybe some not so radical left, but they're all Democrats. And
you mean the states with the most people in them?
Frankly, they want to keep it closed, I think, as long as possible. Maybe for some good reasons, but maybe also for political.
Maybe for some good reasons, like not wanting their constituents to die, not wanting their hospitals overwhelmed, not running out of ICU beds, not having 300,000 dead Americans by Christmas.
Reasons, but we want it open. We want the schools open, Lou.
Trump said he's doing a presser at 7 Eastern? Really? Ooh.
Young people that have better immune systems.
That's new.
We do, Lou. I hate to tell you this, and they are in very good shape, virtually immune from.
No, they're not.
This disease. They're incredible.
They carry it. They have 100 to 1,000 times more viral load in their nose than adults do who are asymptomatic. This is what happens when you have these assholes who don't raise their own children, who outsource it to a parent, to the other parent. They just don't care. Or they're not around. Or they send them off to school so they don't even have to look at them. Because they haven't experienced the whole, if one kid at your kid's elementary school is sick, everybody's sick. It'll knock out the whole house. Like, you in the chat room, you guys have been through this, right? Anybody who's got kids who's in the chat room, you have to know this, right? You've had this experience? Kid brings home, these little booger eaters running around 3rd grade, they're little disease spreaders. They might as well be like sprinklers, just with
Probably you have to give the credit to their immune system. It's called being young.
It's called being young. In case you were looking for a name for it, what is it called when kids have a strong immune system? Oh, it's called being young. What?
And yet with the flu and various other things, they don't do so well.
So apparently it's not called being young. Apparently, yeah, they can't stop lice, they can't stop strep throat, they can't stop inner ear infections. Both of my cousins, like on my mom's side, two of my cousins had permanent tubes put in their ears because of ear infections.
Somebody will explain that someday, perhaps. But
somebody will explain that someday, perhaps. What are you talking about? Where's the mystery? Why does he have a hard time comprehending that infectious disease affects people differently? Influenza A versus influenza B. Influenza B happens to affect children more harshly. It's a different disease. It's not them. It's the contagion itself.
Yeah, certainly for the China virus, they do very well. They do very, very well. So
They do very well. They just carry it around.
Open the schools. We are going to be opening most of the schools.
No, Barron is not going to school. That's another thing. Barron is not going to school. Barron is learning remotely. Barron is not going anywhere where there are large groups of kids.
The parents, generally speaking, want them open, and we want to do it safely, Lou. We want to get them open safely, but we want the whole deal opening.
Does he make air quotes when he says safely?
People starting to go to the office and starting to work, and I have to say, despite that, the numbers have been very, very good. We have a big number coming out on Friday. I believe it will be Friday, and that's going to be another jobs number. The last two have been incredible.
That's today, and there was 1.4 jobs. Our unemployment is at 10.2 right now, which is the soft number, which, by the way, under Obama, he would have said it's closer to 15, 20, sometimes 30%. A lot of people aren't even bothering to try right now. Yeah.
Record-setting numbers, so 7.5 million jobs. And we have another number.
You didn't create, you didn't add. People are going back to work one tiny step at a time.
We're coming up the third one after this whole catastrophe, and that'll be coming up, I believe, on Friday.
Yes, and that unemployment rate will be followed by everyone. It will be one of the measures by which the reopening of the economy is being judged without question. As you talk about the schools,
part of it's businesses that were started to deal with the number of people delivering food. Used car salesmen are doing way better.
It's interesting that we have such a politicized, deeply partisan divide in this country that is.
Gee, who caused that? I mean,
finding expression even in the education of our children, and in particular.
Wait, why are we in a rush to send our kids back to these Marxist indoctrination machines?
For minorities in this country, this will be a tremendous backstep for them because they need desperately education. Our public schools are the great.
Minority people are so uneducated, any days missed. And you have to understand, even though in a lot of cases they die more frequently from COVID, you still need to rush them back.
Equalizer in our society, and to defer their education.
Education is the great equalizer in our society. Put a pin in that for when Republicans want to cut education funding in the future.
Is absolutely outrageous. And for the Democrats.
Yeah, Democrats are the ones who want to make sure that we don't have proper schools, public schools. Yeah.
To pretend that they're doing this for the American people is absurd. These radical Dems and the Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association, the two large.
Oh, terrible. Like radical Dems, teachers, the National Education Association. I mean, these wacko Marxist crazy people.
Just teachers unions seem to be on the front of wanting not to work and wanting.
Yeah, these lazy. The teachers union doesn't want to work. Like they got these teaching degrees and got these student loans and spent all this time getting these jobs so that they could not teach these bastards.
Not to be in the classroom teaching those who need education most.
I agree homeschoolers are assholes, and anybody who's been homeschooling their kids all these years for religious reasons is clearly holding their child back, because without a teacher in a classroom, these children are far behind and are less valuable to the society as a whole. Right, Lou?
Our young people.
Well, that's
Oh, the young people. I thought you were talking about the people in their 60s who are going back to elementary school like yourself.
that's a very political group, and they want to see if they can get Biden in there. And I don't know if you saw Rasmussen was yesterday 51%. We were at 51%.
Yep.
And maybe, I don't know, almost more importantly, that strongly favor. This is a number people don't see very often, but 40% strongly favor. That means they're really committed. That means they're enthusiastic. We have tremendous record-setting enthusiasm on our side, and they have record-setting lack of enthusiasm.
Wait, 40% of Trump voters are enthusiastic about voting for him this fall. The people who are going to vote, these are people who are Trump supporters, are going to vote for Donald Trump. 40% of them are really excited about the idea. That's a number you want. 60% aren't. Imagine patting yourself on the back because 60% of the people who are voting for you are not, like, selling it. It's one thing to go, it's a factor and we're talking about it, but 60% of his voters, people who are committed to voting him, are like, all right.
But they've never had anybody so unenthusiastic. It's an amazing thing. It's a very unenthusiastically endorsed candidate.
Yeah, apparently you do know that you vote with a little. They give you this little pin thing, and you go in there and you go like that. It's not very exciting. You know what I mean? The whole it's emotionally good, but it's not like you have to play around a Call of Duty to pick your candidate. You just kind of flip the papers and you go tack, tack. No hanging chads. Give it a good push, or if you're doing it at home, you got to fill in the whole bubble. Don't drag it over. Don't mix up. Don't accidentally fill the wrong one. Got to get focused on that kind of stuff. It's your vote doesn't count more if you scream it. If you do this, or if you go yeah, your vote counts the same.
So we'll see.
So the numbers of actual voters is kind of crucial. Just because you roll up with a Trump tattoo on a boat with a Bikers for Trump flag that's half Confederate doesn't mean your vote counts more than an elderly woman who goes, I'm voting from home. I would rather not die.
It happens, you never know. It's election, but I think we have more than we've ever had. We went down, as you know, to Texas 3 days ago, and we had literally tens of thousands of people on the roadways with the flags and the whole thing. They were going wild. And then we went to Florida on Friday. All of the sheriffs of Florida and law enforcement endorsed me 100%. Texas also, by the way. But, when you think of it, he's against that group. And it's not him. He's told what to do. He's a puppet for the radical left. But when you think about it,
he's a puppet for the radical left. Yeah, that's why he's bringing them to the center.
They're against oil and gas. They're against guns. And I guess they're against God, okay?
Says the guy who used tear gas to clear a path to a church he doesn't go to hold a Bible upside down like he just won the Pinewood Derby. Can't name a Bible verse. Thinks it's 2 Corinthians.
They're against religion. They're against the Bible, certainly. You look at what they say. But if you're against oil...
You mean the whole part where Biden gets ash on his forehead and he gives up stuff for Lent and he prays regularly? You know that picture you guys use in your ad where he's got his hands and his head down because he's actually in an event actually praying? From a guy who, when asked about it, Trump said he doesn't pray and he's never asked for forgiveness because there's nothing to ask forgiveness for, which is the primary tenet of Christianity. Recognition of your sinfulness, asking for forgiveness, and being genuine in your recognition of your sinfulness and asking for forgiveness, and then accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior. John 3:16 for those who... For God so loved the world, they gave his only begotten Son, for whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Like that one. Like, how do you... See, if I use tear gas to clear a road to stand in front of a church, I would at least whip out, Mark 13:5-6, go forth and kill all man, woman, and suckling infant, that kind of stuff.
If you're against
no flesh shall be spared,
the guns and you're against the Bible, and then you're supposed to win Texas, I don't think
I'll cover the press conference if it's starting. We'll check
that's working out too well. So I was with the governor.
Hold on, I want to check on something because it's this is the same gibberish we see all the time, anyways. But if he's jumping on there, I'm live. Trump holds news conference. Not quite. It's supposed to be half hour ago. I'm guessing not. Let's see. Trump news conference today. Delivers remarks on economic prosperity. So he wanted to come out and talk about the jobs numbers today, right? Where we only have 10.2%. That's 2 days ago. That's a day ago. That's today. Let's look at today because there'll be a live one that comes up. Live. President holds a news press conference at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Live now. Live stream starting soon. Very exciting. This is we'll get to this. Oh boy. Ooh, lovely. Meanwhile, we'll continue with
Texas.
The Dobbs.
He said, no, you have a very tremendous lead. They like to say Texas is in play, but how can you be against oil and gas and guns and lots of other things and you're in place?
God's in the lots of other things. Just so you know, he meant God in the Bible. Lots of other things. God, oil and gas and guns and God, aren't they all the same thing?
No, these polls are fake. I had it. You know better than anybody. You've been so incredible. I tell you what. Number one, you're a talented guy.
Yeah, have you guys ever seen Lou Dobbs play the stand-up bass? It's amazing. It's not so much that the rhythm and the notes. It's just the style, the way he's able to spin it around. Boom, 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 boom. It's just incredible. Voice like a songbird, like an angel.
Wouldn't want to have you as my enemy. That I can tell you. But you.
Yeah, he can also leg wrestle like a son of a bitch. Trump is scared to death that Lou Dobbs is going to challenge him to a good old-fashioned pugilist match.
Or one hell of a...
Oh, my mic is cracking? Okay, I'll switch. Sometimes it's my mic. Sometimes it's that software. So that's this weekend is about.
And you've been there from the beginning, and we really appreciate it. That's why I do.
It's in the Bible. I don't know. Most people think Trump has not read the Bible. But he has, clearly, is proof. In the beginning, there was Lou Dobbs, and there was nothing. And the Lord said, let there be light. And Lou Dobbs went into a big nap until Satan rose again, kind of in the end times, and then now he's got a TV show.
So I do things with you, and I don't
pledge to buy you a new mic system. Aw, thank you.
Bother with others. But when you look at the kind of polls we get, and I had the same thing last time.
No, you didn't. You were within the margin of error last time. You're way outside the margin of error this time.
But the real polls and the internal polls are really fantastic.
Yeah, I totally would trust Brad Parscale to bring me the truth.
And when you take into consideration the enthusiasm and also the fact...
The enthusiasm, yeah, enthusiasms. But look at this. And this is their thing. Thank you so much. Osama number 5. That's all right. You're right on the money. Sharp as a tack. Thank you very much. Biden is a puppet of the radical left. That's the big sales pitch. This asshole still thinks Sanders won.
A lot of people just don't want to get involved. You saw the one part. I think it said 62% of the people don't want to either get involved or say who they're voting for. So how do you do a poll? So I think
they're embarrassed to say they're voting for you, and then
going to have a big surprise.
That's the problem. It's all the Republicans don't want to say who they're voting for, and all the Democrats can't wait to say who they're voting for. So it skews the polls toward Biden because only 40% of people who are voting for Trump in this election, who say they're voting for Trump, actually will say it in public.
I think we have actually much more enthusiasm and many more people than we had in 2016.
No, you're not.
We'll take 2016 right now, but I think the enthusiasm...
No. You would beg. He's begging for the same numbers he had in 2016.
Enthusiasm level. I mean, you would know better than I. I think the enthusiasm level is at a number that people haven't seen before.
I saw boats and flags. Right. Yeah, there was not as much Chinese-made merch around Trump in 2016.
In a long time.
Yeah, I think there's an almost 30-point gap between Republican enthusiasm for Donald Trump and those Democrats for Joe Biden. It's really a tremendous deficit for Biden.
Yeah, which means that the only people still calling themselves Republicans are people who support Donald Trump. All the other Republicans are either calling themselves independent or declining to state or saying they're Democrats now. And all the Democrats cover an entire swath of people who supported Sanders, who supported Elizabeth Warren, but they're all voting for Biden. It's not a matter of enthusiasm. It's the enthusiasm is against Donald Trump for them. But ultimately, it's the number of voters that matters, because we're not electing a messiah. We're electing a manager, a president, a leader, somebody who can actually make a decision based on incoming facts and see threats ahead of time and consider them, and then build a strategy and a plan to fix the things that are currently broken and eventually move towards a more equitable society. I'm kidding. They want him to set up a pineapple farm. There's going to be a Trump pineapple farm, and they'll all have Kool-Aid on the last day.
To overcome.
Right. Sir? It's a record. It's a record gap on enthusiasm. And,
on enthusiasms.
I feel it when you see thousands, tens of thousands of people on these highways in Texas, and we went to Maine.
Yeah, if you look at the people who line up to salute Kim Jong-un, it really is indicative of how the rest of the world feels about him.
And we had unbelievable crowds. Nobody's ever seen crowds like that in Maine. And we went to...
Nobody's ever seen a crowd of 6,000 people that's actually 12,000 people.
Other places. I mean, Pennsylvania. We were in Pennsylvania, Tennessee. Yeah. No matter where we go, the level of enthusiasm, they meet you at the plane, and literally as far...
Yeah, all 36 of them.
As the eye can see, the people are along the roadways. It's a beautiful thing to see. There's tremendous spirit in our country, tremendous spirit.
And that spirit is expressed in a number of ways, but one certainly is the market itself. We are, as you alluded to earlier, watching this market move forward, advance, and stocks appreciate significantly despite the setbacks that have occurred, despite the level of fear that the radical left, it seems, is very involved in encouraging. It's really quite something.
The radical left is encouraging stock buyers to not buy stocks currently?
To watch because we've never gone through this before, and you are leading the nation in a direction that I think most Americans, if they could vote right now, would say that's the way we want to go. This is a nation.
Yeah, no. You do realize under Obama Biden that the stock market went from 6,400 to 19,600.
You promised that you would restore prosperity. You not only promised that, you
didn't. What do you mean restore prosperity? Like unemployment was at like 4.6 when he took over, and the stock market was at 19,600. It was 6,400 when Obama took over, and its height had been before the crash 12,000. It was up 7,000 points. What do you mean restore prosperity?
Should restore prosperity for all Americans. We saw net worth of black households in this country soar to record highs. We saw the
Yeah, they soared to record highs before that as well, but you didn't want them to, so you didn't tout it.
Employment rates for all minorities moved to record lows before the China virus. When you reflect on it,
when you reflect on it, you think if the economy is doing that great, why would it be necessary to double the defense budget and double the deficit? I mean, if we were taking in that many tax dollars because everyone was doing so well, why not? Why would you double the deficit every year to $1 trillion? Why would it be necessary to have $1 trillion deficit if the economy is doing the greatest it has ever done?
What is your sense? Because the relationship with that...
he's not mentioning the GDP drop. He'll mention it in terms of the, I guess the upside of it for him will be the percentage raise from below zero to 2 points for him will be an astronomical. No one's ever had this kind of growth in the economy. Nobody's ever had the collapse either, but they won't read that part of it. He only reads the upside.
The question with China is complex and difficult.
Is it?
When you reflect on all of this, what is your thought about China and the prospects for the relationship going forward?
We're thinking about reinstituting TPP.
Well, it's been very
but not calling it that.
Badly hurt by what happened, because I really believe they could have stopped it in Wuhan, and I feel strongly about that.
Death of the New World Order, death of the pedophiles. Well, we're definitely no fan of pedophiles on either side. Anybody who participated in that, that garbage at Epstein's Island, no matter where they are in the political spectrum, they can go. The New World Order, though, if you're talking about the democracy, as opposed to the old world order, which was monarchy and theocracy, kiss my ass. We're not going back to the old world order.
And it's certainly been very badly hurt. The farmers will tell you over the last few days they ordered a record amount of corn, a record amount of soybeans, numbers that have never been, literally a record. I heard it was a record corn order and a record soybean order.
Right.
No, by percentage, because of how it went down before it went up. It's not a record in that regard. And the livestock deaths alone in China have made them have to purchase other foodstuffs from countries all over the world. They have an enormous population.
They're buying, I made a trade deal, and it's a wonderful deal. But after this happened,
China caused this. Why not put the blame where it belongs? Because while the disease may have fomented there and grown, his responsibility is the United States. And if it was in Washington State and hadn't spread to the rest of the country, or if you'd have put standards in place that would have stopped it, it would be the Washington State virus.
I don't feel the same about the deal.
But he ignored it and blew it off because he wanted his deal with China.
We did.
Because he owes them $300 million.
USMCA 2 with Mexico, Canada, I feel that's been a great deal because that took the place of the worst.
Yes, the Facebookers are being a bit jerk.
The worst trade deal ever made, NAFTA, which was just a horrible deal, emptied out our factories. But the U.S.
No, automation and major multinational corporations did that.
MCA is a great deal. The deal with China was a great deal, but I don't feel the same way as I did. Look, we've lost 160,000 people. We're going to lose more. We would have lost millions had I just let it ride, as they.
Yeah, that's an option. What kind of an asshole do you have to be to go? One of my options was to do nothing in a pandemic. If I'd have done nothing, millions of people would have been dead. So you're lucky to have me. As if anybody would even consider that as a possibility. And by the way, for a good long while, he was doing nothing. It took them 2 weeks of screaming at him with charts to get him to do the first initial 15-day to slow the spread.
Expressing we could have lost millions.
And he still didn't tell the rest of the country. He only did it in major areas, and he was like, some governors are more talented than others.
At the same time. Can you imagine with all of the death, and now you multiply that number times 10, 15, or even 20, it would have been unsustainable and unacceptable. But
oh, the mic is crapping out. I'm sorry. Hold on. Why is that? I think it's actually the software over here. Very possibly. I don't know. Maybe that's, maybe I know how to, let me try something. See if this might help it. Whoop, turn that off. And then turn that off. And then maybe that, I don't know. Let me know if that's a little better. See if that was the cause. Check 1, check 2. Yeah, I always hear it like half and half. Everybody's like, it's fine, it's not good, it's terrible, it's where I am, it's crappy.
This was caused by China, and so it certainly is.
Yeah, it's OBS. But it's Streamlabs OBS for Mac, which is brand new, and which is the version is 0.1.0.
Had a negative impact. I have, I had a really great relationship with President Xi. It's as good as you can.
Yeah, you both reacted to the virus the exact same way. You thought it was embarrassing, it would do you damage politically, so you ignored it and pretend it wasn't a problem. Except here, there he was an authoritarian, he locked people in their apartments and welded them in or snatched them off the street. And here you just did this sort of the equivalent by, sending Fed troops to Portland, and that was your muscle move.
I would suggest. And
yeah, it's new and buggy software. It is.
But it just is, it's been such a horrible, horrible thing when you see everyone walking around now with masks and you see all the death and you see what's happened to this country, but really to the world. I mean, if you look at the world is...
Well, it's not my fault. It's happening to the world, too.
There's some countries...
It's not like I'm the president of the United States and I have to take responsibility. By the way, do we want to go look at the tweets he put out about Obama during H1N1 or Ebola?
Or have been...
When we were bringing a couple of Americans back to the United States for treatment?
Literally devastated. Look at Europe. Look at what happened to Italy and Spain and France and...
Isn't happening anymore and is stabilizing?
All of these countries, they were just devastated by this, and it could have been stopped.
That could be it, Flang Doodle. That's a good thought.
So it certainly has had an impact. TikTok is one thing that we're doing, and we just, I don't know,
You know, you're in the middle of it. 160,000 people are dying, and there's all this crazy stuff going on, and I, you know, to me, it just seems like the one thing that's been missing, I think, for a lot of people is that TikTok is still up. By the way, TikTok is malware. It's garbage, and it does spy on your phone. There's all kinds of problems. You guys know, by the way, call me out on this if you believe any different. How long, I mean, months have I been saying TikTok is malware? How many times? How many times have I tweeted that over time or mentioned it on this show? Anytime somebody brings up TikTok, I've been telling you guys. And like, it's malware. All the other political stuff aside, it's crap. But it's only new to him because he heard that K-pop fans on TikTok got tickets to his event in Tulsa and then didn't show up.
Done that anyway. I don't know. It could have been affected by this. You know, Huawei, I've stopped Huawei from coming into this country.
Now, he was all for Huawei last year. And then now that the disease has come in, now that it's the China virus, now he's against Huawei being our 5G company. Everybody else has been like clamoring. Boris Johnson, the UK was pushing back against this. They had to talk him into it.
With some false reports. I actually called the great Lou Dobbs to tell him, by the way, you have one report wrong. You were sort of indicating that I was allowing it in. I wasn't.
Yeah, you were. You changed. You flip-flopped on Huawei.
Allowing it in. In fact, we're actually taking down equipment where they have Huawei.
Yeah, you're taking down equipment. Gee, how is that equipment here?
Equipment bought years and years ago, long before my time. And we're actually taking it down off.
Yeah, 5G equipment that was here before 5G even existed. What?
Top of towers and things all over the country.
Bullshit. They started taking some of that stuff down because they arrested the one of the execs from Huawei in Canada.
No, I turn it, and I've gotten many countries not to buy it too, because we think it's.
Did he force Barron's School to open? Is it open?
Very big security risk. So, I don't know. Nope. Maybe I wouldn't be the same. Yet. Maybe I wouldn't feel the same. Maybe I'd sort of close a blind eye. But you know what?
Close a blind eye. Close a blind eye. You mean turn a blind eye?
It is what it is. It's been a horrible, horrible.
It is what it is. I'm surprised he doesn't say it is what it ain't, considering how often he screws up normal phrases. Like, are there any idioms or colloquialisms he actually understands? This dude is President Carl Pilkington.
Thing. And again, we never did. We had the greatest.
Close a blind eye. What's the point?
Year in the history of the world, if you think of it. Not just this country. Yep. There's never been a country that did better than us last year. And that.
No, I would disagree. I mean, I think there have been a lot of societies over time. They had populations that were way smaller. But no, we've done our like, as far as employment and as far as productivity and as far as wages, the late 50s into the early 60s is a little hard to argue with.
Now we're fighting back. And now it looks like it's a V based on the auto sales, based on...
used car sales are going to pull us out of this mess. We may have a 33% drop in productivity. We might have 10% unemployment. But look at those used car sales, man. I feel so much better.
And based on a lot of different things. I don't know if you saw used car sales. You can't even get a used car now.
Yeah, you can't get a used car. There are no used cars left. We've ramped up production to make more used cars. He's going to go cut the ribbon on a used car factory in Ohio next week. Jesus Christ. You can't even get a used car. Oh, God. You can't even find one. You can't find any used cars. All cars are new again.
Which is a big indicator, by the way.
What?
But you look
What is this?
manufacturing numbers, and it'll be interesting to see what happens on Friday. I don't know the answer yet, but we'll find out on Friday. And
He knows what it is. That's why he called in Lou Dobbs. That's why he's on Fox Business. He knew the number was going to be better than expected because basically everybody is saying the sky is falling. So if it only drops a cement block on your head instead of lava, it's an improvement.
Jobs, another jobs number, but it looks very certainly like we're going to have a V, a very strong V. I'm dealing with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, like Rob says. Yeah, we're going to have a very strong V. We're going to have a bunch of rodent-eating lizard people running the country.
And we're trying to get some real good money to take care of people that should be taken care of and helped. The problem is they're more interested in taking care of, let's say, Democrats who did a very poor job running a state. You know this.
Well, so Nancy Pelosi, when she's trying to get an extension of unemployment benefits and a moratorium on evictions and $90 billion to help pay landlords so that real estate people who own property with tenants in them don't lose their property because their tenants can't pay, and so they have to evict them, and there's nobody to come in and fill that. Like, that's her wanting to bail out blue states and cities for being very poorly run.
I'm talking about. There's a number of them where they're run by Democrats, some radical left. You look at what's been going on in Portland.
Yeah, Portland. This is really just a Portland bailout. Where's the money for Portland in the bill? Nancy Pelosi. That's the hanging part. That's why Mark Meadows slammed his hand on the desk and walked out. It wasn't because they wanted to have a one-sided moratorium on evictions, meaning that we wanted the government to pay those bills for only acceptable, like, Section 8 ready or whatever it was. He slammed his hand on the table and walked out because there was too much money for Portland rebuilding in there. What?
And by the way, the Wall Street Journal gave us a great editorial that Trump wins in Portland. I sent a whole group of very, very tough, very talented people there to protect.
Yeah, there was a jazz band downtown. There was a guy with a didgeridoo it was like he was an unmarked Fed, so you couldn't tell where he was from. I think he was Department of Homeland Security. He might have been Port or ICE, but I mean, insofar as his ability to play the didgeridoo, I've never seen anything
Can
like
you believe it? A courthouse,
I don't believe it.
Major federal courthouse, from being burned to the ground, torn down, decimated, and we saved that very easily, frankly. And we helped them beyond that, and we could solve.
And then as soon as you left, they stopped trying to tear down the federal building, and now they're doing police stations.
Problem totally very quickly and easily, but we're not doing that as of yet. But it's been.
By the way, Portland police, Portland authorities, arrest the arsonists and keep them in jail. Because then you'll be able to weed through the people who are there who actually have a statement to be made against police brutality or whatever the issue is in Portland. I don't know if Portland has a particularly violent police department per se. They don't seem to be one of the standouts so far. But it's mostly young white kids, so that are setting these fires. So I'm doubting that's the gripe. It just seems like they're kind of rando anarchists, with nothing to do. So maybe just lock them up. Maybe, like Biden says, arson's a crime, vandalism's a crime, looting's a crime. Arrest them, put them in jail, and keep them there. If you set a fire or you throw an incendiary device, you don't get bail. You stay in jail until your trial. They set one of their own on fire in Portland. They threw a firebomb and it landed on another dude who was protesting with them, allegedly. I mean, I don't know what he was doing. He was prying one of the fences. I have to assume he was on their side, or either that he was trying to get inside the courthouse where he thought he would be safe. I doubt it, because he was wearing the Antifa uniform. But maybe just take the arsonists and throw them in jail and keep them there. How about that? Just a little tip from your Uncle Hal.
A very big victory in Portland.
Hi,
It's been
Jill.
a big victory in Seattle. We were going to send in the troops. I had mentioned that once here before. We're all set to send them in, and they did it instead, which is the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be done locally.
We were going to send them in the day after I heard they were going to go in and take care of it, so I had to call really quick.
They knew we were coming.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is a Greek citizen. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I think that was just kind of an honorary thing.
The following.
Don't really care. I don't know why that's a thing.
And it worked out very well. These guys just raised up their head. The anarchists and the agitators, they were exhausted, and they just held up their hands and gave up.
Did they? They just held up their hands and gave up? Oh, you mean in Seattle? Maybe they weren't agitators and anarchists. Maybe they arrested the agitators, and then the anarchists just went back to working at the Starbucks in Bellevue.
But we've had tremendous success, and I think next year is going to be one of the best years we've ever had, Lou. But in the meantime,
I agree. You won't be president, but yeah.
You can never forget the death, and you can never forget all of the tremendous amounts of money we've needed to put back into our country to keep it going well, to keep it going the way it should.
Yeah, we won't forget this. Yeah. What do you want? You want a 9/11 memorial for what you went through as president? Is that what we're doing? Is that what he's saying? We'll never forget. He's trying to claim never forget for himself.
Good.
And the direction is decidedly the correct one. The quibbling and the detractors that
yeah, the quibbling and the detractors is terrible. Are they like agitators and anarchists, but they're like they've got a side hustle?
Are with you 24/7.
Yeah, these 20 quibblers. Every time he picks up the phone, someone's quibbling at him.
From the left are really...
Oh, lefty quibblers. Oh, my God. Those left-wing radical quibblers.
Right now, operating in a way that I find incomprehensible.
Well, you're right now operating in a way I find incomprehensible, Lou. I don't know what the shit you're talking about. Spit it out, man.
This is a time for the national interest, and we're not...
Yes, exactly. So, like, everybody wear a mask. Don't spread the disease to your fellow Americans. How about don't go out and throw a fit in a fucking grocery store because you have to wear a mask so you don't kill your fellow Americans in the national interest. Instead of, man, we got to have Sturgis, brother. We got to be able to go out and hang out. This is, for America, freedom means the freedom to die after somebody coughs on you in a preventable way.
Hearing from other leaders, that is,
Am I good at hanging doors? Yes, I am.
Those corporate...
It's weird when Trump treats people like garbage. They're all mean back to him. Yeah, it's so strange, isn't it?
Leaders who could be influencing the Democratic Party, who could be influencing the left, and instead, many of them are supporting left-wing organizations, including Black Lives Matter.
Oh, God, those black people, and they're living all the time and wanting to be alive.
Who are bringing anarchy.
Black Lives Matter, but not as much as anarchy. Blam! Black living anarchists matter. We need a Blam Street. Or perhaps Black Anarchist Lives Matter, which is a balm to soothe oneself. Balm.
And violence to our streets.
Oh, the violent black people with their lives mattering with anarchy.
It is a peculiar time for...
Blanarchy. That's right. They're blanarchists. Blanarchists.
For the leadership of corporate America as well. And particularly...
Wait, what? What was the leadership? What? Hold on.
Bringing anarchy and violence to our streets.
Right.
It is a peculiar time for the leadership of corporate America as well. And particularly because in a...
What? Are we going to dovetail into how Jeff Bezos is having a rough week? What are you talking about?
They are the ones who own...
Yeah, Blanarchists, you know who you are in the crowd, in our chat room. Why aren't you out blanarching? Why are you inside? We were supposed to kick you out onto the street. Didn't you hear the earlier part? We as lefties are supposed to be pushing you guys out onto the street to blanarch all over the place.
The fake news outlets that you refer to.
Wait a minute. Get back. Hold on. Stick with one thing, Lou. It's either anarchists are out on the street being black, doing lives mattering, and it's upsetting corporate America, the leadership of corporate America, or what was it? What?
So often and correctly with some bitterness, if I may say.
What?
It is those companies could change all of this.
What are you talking about? What is this? Spit it out, man. This is blather. This is, forget Black Lives Matter. Blather matters. Blathem. Honestly, what is he talking about? Where did he go? Is someone screwing with this teleprompter? Are they just rolling it forward and backwards?
In a matter of days.
They could, corporate America could have solved this in a matter of days if they just find a way to sell, if they pre-print Black Lives Matter shirts and sell them at Hot Topic. They do already? Shit.
I find it's just absolutely stunning that they will not rise to the occasion.
Yeah, what's wrong with you, leadership of corporate America, that you will not rise to the occasion to stop the leftist Black Lives Matter anarchists from upsetting the corporate CEOs of the what? I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm getting a little lightheaded, and I think I might get a nosebleed. I was trying to put together what he's saying, and I got a little lightheaded.
Find a company like Comcast. I don't call it Com. It's
see what I did there? I call it Concast because they carry MSDNC. Oh my God, Sarah Palin. Why didn't she get? She must be so pissed. Because honest to God, this guy is just the bloated old guy version of Sarah Palin. If you want to talk about the misogyny of 2016 and before, on the one hand, how Hillary Clinton was treated was a horrible act of misogyny across the board. But on a Republican level, there is no greater act of misogyny than the fact that they elected Sarah Palin, but just as a aging male. This is the same shit. Like he's saying that he's playing her hits. He's the Milli Vanilli of Sarah Palin. Hal Sparks like a nephew or child of me. Aw, Suzanne, hi.
COM, but I call it CON because there's a whole big con job.
Oh, I see. So the con is pronounced with it was spelled with an N, and Comcast, because of communication, they use an M. And a lot of times when you say that, nobody laughs, and you think it's because N and M sound a lot close. They sound similar. They're euphonic, and so explaining it out loud really helps in that situation. I see. Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead. So Concast, not Comcast, because there's a big con job going on. Okay, go ahead.
They own NBC and MSDNC.
Let's see what I did there. Because I said NBC, but I couldn't say DNC by itself because people would think I don't know they don't own the Democratic National Committee. So what I do is I take MSNBC and I make it MSDNC, and it is, nobody thought of that till me.
And I find that company to be a disgrace, and
it's just rough. So you're mad at Comcast, which also carries Fox and Fox Business. A good portion of Fox's viewers are watching it on Comcast. It's a cable network.
They could heal the wounds because, what's wrong with having strong military, low taxes, great school, great protection, good, strong police forces so you don't get hurt, suburbia strong. I ended that horrible rule where they were building low-income housing in the
black people in the suburbs.
With the suburbs right next to your house. And
no, they weren't.
Really destroying.
Does he think suburbs are gone? So, ever since that rule came into play, the suburbs have actually grown. They just sprawled out further and further.
A lot of families and a lot of the American dream, and I ended it. They wanted to change it. I said, nope, you got to end it.
Yeah, they wanted to amend it and actually have a measured view of how it should be applied, and I was like, nah, just scrapping it. Yeah, Biden is banning suburbs. That's exactly right.
That's been.
He hated all those train rides he had to take into the city, so he's just going to eliminate it. We're all going to live in one big. Yeah, we're all going to live in one city all together, you know. And
soup for my family.
Right.
Going for a long time. Got much worse under Obama, and would have gotten much worse. Cory Booker was going to take it over, so you can imagine how that would have been.
Oh, Cory Booker, you know you know what I'm saying?
Been a disaster with him.
Oh, you know, the Cory Booker.
He was another great president.
Listen to Lou snickering in the background.
Candidate that ended up getting out with 0% of the vote. So, you know, Booker was going to take it over under Obama, and would have gotten much worse. Cory Booker was going to take it over, so you can imagine how that would have been. That would have been a disaster with him. He was another.
Cory Booker, you know, that asshole who, when he was, I think, mayor, ran into a burning house and saved children. What an asshole.
Great presidential candidate that ended up.
He never did anything for black people like Donald Trump did when he and his dad refused to rent to them.
Getting out with 0% of the vote. So, you know, it's one of those things, Lou, but it's, I will tell you this, what I've done is I'm fighting some of these companies. I'm fighting now Big Pharma. And I'm going to a favored nations clause. You know, Germany, and we have countries that get drugs for a tiny fraction of what we.
Yeah, you mean the countries that have state-run healthcare systems? You mean countries that have a public option that can buy all drugs, not just the drugs for their retirees in bulk?
We pay for all of the cost, all of the research and development, all of the everything, and you'll have a pill.
Stupid multinational corporations.
An example that will sell for
10 cents, and then it's $2 for we pay for $2. 10 cents there, $2.
Pennies, and we.
All right, pennies. That's a new one.
Dollars. Our people have to pay
pennies and dollars. Now it's
dollars for them. And so what I'm doing is I've instituted a favored nations clause, which is tough. That's very tough. That means if let's say,
this was supposed to start. That was supposed to start like an hour ago.
There's a name. Let's say Germany, or let's say UK.
Trump is starting now.
Donald J. Trump.
Oh yeah. Okay, hold on. Jesus Christ, this looks like a sketch, and that's so goddamn loud. Wait.
And gets their.
Hold on, stop it. This is the one. Now come back here. This is funny. Wait.
It's Donald J. Trump.
With your host, Donald J. Trump. This looks like a Jimmy Fallon opening. Holy shit. Okay, everybody. Oh, he's at Bedminster, right? This is it. He looks fantastic. Well rested. His face doesn't look clammy and weird at all. Like there's not bags under his eyes. He's going to announce the economic numbers, and everybody was like, maybe you just stay in and have a nap.
Well, thank you very much.
And thank you for that loud music.
It's a great honor to have everybody here. I know the press was not quite expecting this, so I appreciate your being able to attend. We have a terrific number of things and some very positive things to tell you tonight. I want to begin by giving an update on the economy.
Yeah.
Economic health is vital to public health. That's why our strategy to kill the China virus is focused on protecting
the China virus.
Those at greatest risk.
Oh, they're turning the mic up. Jesus.
While allowing younger,
God damn it,
healthy Americans to safely return to work and safely return to school. Very important.
Especially if they're getting education to get a new job because their old job was destroyed.
We added 1.8 million new jobs.
Now, YMCA is on the way out. He's doing this because he's doing it. This was unexpected. So they've got a live band there. So they whip them up, make them drive over and do the Hail to the Chief. But this isn't, this is going to be, in his official capacity.
Exceeding predictions for the third month in a row and adding a total of over 9.3 million jobs since May.
No, but we did not add, oh, God damn it. We did not add 9.3 million jobs. We lost 22 million jobs that have yet to come back during a temporary shutdown meant to stop the virus that was cut short because this asshole can't see anything through. We didn't gain these there's no new jobs in the 9.3, not a one. If you worked at a restaurant and you stopped working at that restaurant for 2 months and now you're going back to working at that restaurant, you don't have a job you didn't have before. You had a job that was put on pause. This part drives me nuts. Added 9.3
And I will say that the job growth that we've seen over the last 3 months.
It's not job growth. We have not grown jobs. Jesus Christ.
0.3 million is the single greatest 3-month period of job creation
and the single greatest 3-month period of job loss since the Great Depression.
American history. That's big.
Yeah, John Malkovich. You fucking moron.
Stuff. That's big news and great news.
Why didn't you announce the collapse? Why is he not coming out on the weekend and going, thanks for gathering. We've lost 33% of our GDP in this quarter.
Over the past 3 months, the United States has surpassed market expectations by a total of 12 million new jobs.
No, there are no new jobs. Not 12 million new jobs. There are no new jobs at all. There are no new jobs. There are old jobs people can go back to slowly but surely. We're not adding jobs. This is so stupid.
Over the last 3 months, the United States has added 623,000 manufacturing jobs.
No, you haven't. Unless you're counting the fact that some factories used to make some shit and now they're making ventilators or swabs, which is not a sign of a healthy economy. Why don't you tell us how many people have gotten new jobs as used car salesmen?
Remember, you'd need a
besides like Kudlow
magic wand to get manufacturing jobs. And we're getting them even in a pandemic, which is disappearing. It's going to disappear.
It's going to disappear. It's just going to vanish. It's just going to...
And 639,000 brand new construction jobs.
They're not brand new construction jobs. People paused construction, and then there's also been a bunch of houses that people bought that were paused, that weren't being built, that are now going back to being built because people can safely build things. Also, states, because their roads and bridges are not being crossed as often because traffic was down, have started doing all their infrastructure paying just to keep some money flooding into the economy. We haven't.
Over half of the new jobs are full-time jobs, and wages are up by 4.8%, which is terrific. Unemployment has fallen by nearly 30% since April.
Okay. Unemployment has fallen by 30% since April. Think about what that means. He thinks out of 100, 30%, instead of 30% of 14% unemployment has gone to 10.2 in the registered number. Like, it's a horrifying number. And again, this is not the 2008 crash. This is nothing about this is caused by an economic indicator. The damage he's done to the economy is years out. The 0.2% interest rate and the deficit that he created, the military spending, all that stuff is going to fall on people's shoulders a decade from now. But the problem right now caused by the pandemic and the shutting down around it is not a genuine economic contraction. It's caused by us having not to produce or do anything. And so this idea that it lives in its own little vacuum, and that anybody who goes back to work is actually going to a brand new job is goofy.
Think of that, 30% since April. Hispanic American
Since April, when no one was working.
unemployment has decreased by nearly 32%.
Right, in line with the rest of it, you mean?
Jobs held by African Americans, which were hit especially hard by the shutdowns, incredibly hard, increased by nearly 1 million over the past 3 months, and that's also
They didn't increase. There are not 1 million more black people employed than there were in April or March is really what he's saying, or February or January. There's not 1 million more black people with a job they didn't have at the end of March. This is insanity.
a record. That's a job record. African American.
Yeah, why wasn't it a record when they lost their job?
1 million, it's a job record.
Yeah, why wasn't it a record when they lost their job?
We must ensure that the progress continues. My administration has enacted over $3 trillion in historic relief since China allowed the virus to infect the world.
$3 trillion. $3 trillion. And what do we have to show for it? And by the way, it's 6.4 trillion because they're not counting the stuff in the Fed's easing of loans to the big corporations. So we've dumped as much money on the economy as we did in the first 8 years of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and we have 10.2% unemployment. And he thinks we've added. But I don't know what black people are complaining about in the streets. I don't know why they don't think they have economic prosperity like no one else. There's literally more black jobs than there are black people.
So we've
why are all these black people mad? All the adults have jobs. Some of them 2-3 jobs.
contributed $3 trillion.
Yeah, that was the CARES Act. You asked for half that, and it still wasn't enough.
My administration continues to work in good faith to reach an agreement with Democrats in Congress that will extend unemployment benefits, provide protections against evictions. A terrible thing happens with evictions.
Yeah, how's that work? Is it as bad as when you don't rent to someone in the first place because they're black?
Fair. It wasn't their fault that we were infected with this disease.
No, it's your fault. You let it get out of Washington State. Why didn't you stop the Washington virus?
From China.
I call it the DC virus.
And get relief to American families. Yet tragically, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer continue to insist on radical left-wing policies that have nothing to do with the China virus, nothing to do with it at all.
No? What are they asking for? What's in the negotiation? What are they asking for? Are they asking for the Green New Deal to be signed into law right now? Or do they want wind, don't they?
So you have a virus that comes in, and you have...
Okay, he's going to tell... that's all the facts, right? These are the ones written down. Now he's going to tell us in a colloquial... This is the fireside chat version of what he just said.
People in Congress that don't want to help our people.
Oh, okay.
If Democrats continue to hold this...
That was him breaking it down. In case you didn't understand what he'd said before,
this hostage, I will act under my authority as president to give
by the way,
Americans the relief
they
need.
Listen to this
infected
again.
with this disease. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer continue to insist on radical left-wing policies that have nothing to do with the China virus, nothing to do with it at all.
Like what? Which ones would those be? What have they been bringing up in the, what are they asking for that doesn't have anything to do with the economic problem we're suffering through right now or the disease itself?
So you have a virus that comes in, and you have people in Congress that don't want to help our people.
Okay. That's clear. You guys got that? Okay. I just wanted to make sure in case you needed to
If Democrats continue to hold this critical relief hostage, I will act under my authority as president to get Americans the relief they need. And what we're talking about is deferring the payroll tax.
Right. Basically, he's the one holding it hostage. He's told Mark Meadows that if they can't get the payroll tax holiday that he wants written into law, then he's just going to do it automatically, and that's what the holdout is. That's what Meadows is slamming his hand on the table about. It's what they're walking out on. It's getting that added, and the Republicans in the Senate and in the House are against it.
For a period of months till the end of the year, and I could extend it at a certain period. Hopefully, I will be here to do the job. We're going to do the job. We've been doing a job like nobody could.
Well, I'm sure somebody could screw this up worse, but I mean, they'd have to be a Russian puppet trying to kill more Americans. You'd actively have to do this.
Nobody would, actually.
No, that's true. That part is true. Nobody would screw the pooch this bad, this clear.
And so we're going to have the payroll tax go till the end of the year, and it'll be retroactive to July 1st. So we're going to go back to July 1st, and it'll go to the end of the year, payroll tax. At the end of the year, it may be extended.
And then people will be making it up next year by paying more into it. So it'll raise the payroll tax next year, which is basically an attempt to attack the next Democratic president of the United States and make him look bad, because for the first 8 months you're paying $100 more in your payroll tax.
We're going to enhance unemployment benefits through the end of the year. So unemployment benefits will be, that's a big one, will be brought out to the end of the year.
How much? Is he announcing he's willing to do $600 through the end of the year?
And defer student loan payments and forgive interest until further notice. So students who are paying.
So the same thing I said through the end of the year before, I'm going to say till the end, further notice. So you could turn that off sooner?
Student loans, and in many cases, they're not even allowed to go back into their colleges. Extend the eviction moratorium. We will be extending that so people aren't evicted. Not their fault.
What about the landlords? Are you gonna you can't allocate funds. He can't extend the eviction moratorium other than stopping landlords from evicting. He cannot allocate funds on his own. Congress has to do that to pay the landlords or give them a stipend to pay their rent.
Had a lengthy discussion this morning with President Macron of France concerning numerous subjects, but in particular the catastrophic event which took place in Beirut, Lebanon. Horrible, horrible event.
Okay, so you and Macron chit-chatted about Lebanon. All right. Are you still convinced it was an attack?
At 3 p.m. this afternoon, I spoke with President Aoun of Lebanon to inform him that 3 large aircraft are on the way, and they're fully loaded.
With bombs? Oh my God, we're bombing Lebanon? What do you mean they're fully loaded? Jesus Christ, are these B-52s? Are we sending another fat man, little boy? What are you talking about?
Medical supplies.
You must. With medical
food,
supplies.
Water, and many other things.
Many other things. Ammonium nitrate.
Lots of emergency.
I heard they lost a lot of ammonium nitrate. They had a bunch of it in storage, and they lost all of it. So we're sending
equipment. Also, first responders, technicians, doctors, and nurses are on their way. This was an event like the world has not seen for a long time.
Yes, we have. It was a horrible thing. But you haven't seen bombs go up in Lebanon? In Beirut? I mean, if you think of guns with Chicago worldwide, people go Chicago, bang, bang, and it's a running gag. Beirut just as a name is referential to the number of bombs going up. And we dropped Moabs. You dropped a Moab on Afghanistan. You do realize we've just been watching Syria for the last Yemen, the Houthi attack on the Saudis, why we have our soldiers now guarding them as human shields.
Horrible event.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be having a conference call on Sunday with President Macron, leaders of Lebanon, and leaders from various parts of the world. Everyone wants to help. We spoke to A lot of people, they all want to help.
Very nice.
The United States is with authorities on the ground right now in Lebanon to identify further health and humanitarian needs, and we will provide further assistance in the period to come. We're working very closely with their government and with their leaders.
Well, notice how he says all this stuff like no other president would think to help a country that had just had an explosion like this. This is actually, when America is functioning normally, this is what we do. You know, Bush interventions into theaters of war we don't belong in aside.
And on behalf of the United States, I want to extend our condolences to all of the families, a much larger number of families than anybody would have thought. And
what do you mean than anybody would have thought? I'm shocked there weren't more people killed.
Anybody at first thought?
At first, no. At first, people thought tens of thousands must have died. That was a huge explosion. It looked like a nuke.
But all of those families who lost loved ones, relatives, friends in this horrible tragedy, we stand firmly with them.
By the way, this is the longest he's spoken about the families of the dead. He's never done this with American dead from COVID-19. He's never, think back. We've done this every day. Think back to any of the times he's talked about people who've died. The only time he's ever talked at length about the friends and family of people who have died is when he brings up somebody like, sir, he's in a coma. And I was like, what? He was just had the sniffles. And then he's dead. And I know a couple people, and they're dead. Like, that's it. He's never gone on this long about the families and friends and relatives of the people who've died of COVID in this country. Not once. This is super weird.
People of Lebanon, and will continue to offer our full support through this very difficult time. We have not seen anything like this in a long time.
135 people, maybe 150 people. I wouldn't be surprised if it got to be 500 dead in this, thousands injured. Everybody saw this and was shocked. It was a terrible accident. You said it was an attack. This is literally what this is about. This whole bullshit about calling Macron and all this is to erase the fact that he said from the podium this was an attack, and he talked to military leaders and they said it was an attack, which they totally didn't. He's talking out of his ass. He told his generals that, and they were like, okay, sir.
As you know, earlier this week, I met with American workers at the Tennessee Valley Authority who have been laid off by the leadership at the Tennessee Valley Authority. As you know, this is
What is it? Explain the Tennessee Valley Authority and why this requires federal intervention.
Form of utility. It's been around for a long time, since FDR. And the head person, not controlled by government, but it's sort of semi-public in a sense, gets paid the highest salary in the world of government. He gets $8 million a year. That's not a bad amount of money. It's $8 million a year. And
I mean, honestly, who does this guy think he is? Hunter Biden?
we are not accepting that, even though we're not the ones that appoint him.
Even though the government has no say in this. But now, I, Donald John Trump, as President of the United States and tacit head of the Republican Party, have decided that the most important thing is that the federal government start telling private institutions how much they can pay their leadership. How many Republicans want that written into law? Explain that to me. How is this legal precedent something that they want to have? Honestly, how is this Republican? I'm stunned. Like, if a Democrat did this, it would be the end of the world.
Her, but in this case, him.
It is federally funded partially, but they don't choose the leadership, and to attract leadership that they want, that knows all the ins and outs of the whole business, apparently, to keep it solvent, they offer, the price tag has gone up on who's going to run the thing. How long they stay in is anybody's guess.
We're not accepting somebody getting paid $8 million a year. This has been going on for many years.
Yeah. So are we at the point where any company that has a federal contract, the federal government can set a limit on how much the CEO or CFO can make, and we can fire that person without review?
And we will do something about that, and we're already in negotiations right now, including possible termination.
Wait a minute, I thought you fired him. Didn't we see yesterday they fired him? Am I not wrong? Didn't we all watch that? We all watched it together when he was host, and he threw his "you're fired," and he said it and he screwed up the line, but still.
They and hundreds of their fellow American tech workers, the workers at the TVA, were being terminated from their positions on top of all of this and on top of the $8 million salary and a chief of staff who makes much more than $1 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of all that, they were being terminated from their positions, these incredible people, in order to train the lower-cost foreign workers imported to replace them. How's that for a law? And this was set up originally to create jobs and economic development. And now they're getting fired, and they're supposed to train people for a much lower, who get a much lower salary. It's crazy.
Isn't it? Yeah, that's corporate America. That's energy for you. That's the energy sector. That's where we're saving all those energy jobs.
This was a grave injustice. I fired the chairman of the board in response. On Friday, I fired the chairman of the board, along with one other board member. That's the one thing we have. We have the right to fire board members. And I made it clear that if they did not swiftly reverse course, I would continue with these firings of the board members.
Yeah, because that's how you make a deal. When you're trying to make the upper leadership listen to you, what you want to do is fire them first, and then the other people who gave them the dumb idea, move them up into positions of bigger power. That's a great idea.
And we just were informed that they have agreed to change course totally. And today I'm proud to announce that a major victory for the workers of Tennessee and Kentucky and other areas
in the valley of that they have authority over,
that are covered, great states, that the leadership,
not these shitty states on the edges of the country,
but the TVA has canceled all of the layoffs and given hundreds of American workers their jobs back. They're being rehired as we speak. In this administration, we live by two rules: buy American and hire American. You can't do that. Can't fire all our workers and hire people back from other faraway parts of the world at lower prices.
Okay, cool. Set that into law. See how corporate America likes that. Let's do this.
Especially when they have to train the people.
You mean like the carrier plant people did?
And they can never train them as good as what you have because they've been there for many years.
Why wouldn't the people who do those jobs know how to do their job enough to tell?
They've done a fantastic job.
These people are not teachers, they're doers.
And they love the TVA. We had a lot of people in the office the other day. A lot of the media was covering it. They love the Tennessee Valley Authority.
Why would they love the Tennessee Valley Authority? I mean, they must have pay the leader of it $8 million and the chairman of the board $1 million. They must love them a lot.
So, and they're so proud to work for it. But this happened, and it was a terrible thing. So now they're going to get their jobs back. They're all going to be getting their jobs back. Nearly every nation on Earth continues to combat the virus.
What a weird cul-de-sac about the TVA.
A number of countries are seeing a surge in new cases, including Japan, the Philippines, major parts of Europe. Cases continue to surge in Latin America. It's right now the most
not my fault
infected place anywhere in the world.
You mean the leaders who were following your lead on not wearing masks?
They've more than doubled in recent days. Latin America is doing very little testing. They're not really equipped to do that. It's tough.
Well, then how do they know they have all these cases then?
The United States, more than 80% of jurisdictions report declining cases. We're doing very well. You don't hear that too often from the media, but we're doing very well. We have a very large country, very complex country in a sense.
In a sense?
More than half of America's counties report fewer than 20 cases last week.
More than half of, yeah, 90% of the counties in this country have dozens of people in them.
So if you look at that, more than half of America's counties report fewer than 20 cases last
Yeah, and all of them have 60 people.
week. But we have to remain vigilant. We're doing very well, but we have to remain
Good God.
vigilant. Nationally, the percentage of emergency room visits with the coronavirus symptoms is down to almost half what it was in July.
Yeah, because we're moving away from the giant, poorly run Democratic areas, which have gotten a handle on it, into the lower population red states that are now getting hit by it.
States that were very strong hotspots not long ago, Arizona, Texas, Florida, continued to show significant improvement,
Only because they shut down in certain areas.
including increased availability of hospital beds. Arizona now has the smallest number of coronavirus inpatients since mid-June. It's gone. The governor
Mid-Joan Crawford.
was up,
No wire hangers.
and we had a great meeting, Governor Ducey, and the meeting was terrific. But
So good.
since mid-June, so they're doing well, and it's going down, heading down very rapidly, actually.
No, it isn't heading down very rapidly. He adds the very rapidly part all the time.
Texas is
And then when he says it's going down very rapidly, then they open up again, and then the cases go up very rapidly. And he's like, well, they've had some issues and some embers.
stabilizing and improving
He has not mentioned Thailand, Richard. No.
rapidly, with some progress in the Rio Grande Valley and other communities along the border with Mexico that had shown the biggest increases in hospitalizations and deaths. Florida is also stabilizing. Its statewide positive test rate continues to decrease from 13% on July 23rd to 8% this week.
As you expand the volume of testing, the percentage of numbers of tests. So basically, they rushed in when they saw how many were affected in Florida. They started flooding more tests. The more tests you have, the more people don't have the disease than do have it in the general public. So you're going to see the percentage go down, but the absolute number is exactly the same or climbing. And that's the whole thing. If they give you the percentage, look for the real number. If they give you the real number, ask for the percentage. And notice he plays fast and loose. He'll give you the number 1 million for black jobs, but he won't give you the percentage because the percentage looks like shit. But million sounds great. But then if you know, especially when you look at 15 to 16% unemployment in the black community because of this, and a lot of the jobs that they did go back to are jobs that are very dangerous. Frontline healthcare workers, food delivery, those kind of things. Like when people work in those kind of industries, they're confronted by the disease more often.
Florida's done very well. It's going down. It's heading down actually quite rapidly. And even Miami,
Why, he always adds the quite rapidly part.
which was the hottest spot in Florida, is heading downward. But
You hope.
Florida has done very well. Texas
Look, there's tons of people in this thing that on this that are just basically going boring, repeating lies. You can't stop the COVID-19. MAGA's a disaster. California bleached lives matter. That's funny. I see. They're going.
has done very well and rapidly, and Arizona has done incredibly well. So Arizona's really been a very rapid drop. New Jersey and New York remain stable with less than 1% of emergency room visits due to the China virus. The illness took a devastating toll on both states, as you know. While both states really took the brunt of the infection earlier this year, thankfully, we have not seen a resurgence. They've been doing a good job. Everybody's working very
Those crappy Democrat radical left states.
hard. Both governors are working very, very hard.
Both Democratic governors.
We're in touch with them. We're supplying them with a lot of supplies as needed, if needed, but they're needing very little right now. They're in
They buy their own shit.
very good shape. We will continue
It's quibbling. He's being quibbled by
to
them.
monitor the new cases. Throughout this crisis, my administration has provided extraordinary support of people, equipment, medical supplies to the people of New Jersey, the people of New York, and to the people of every state, all of our states.
All of our states, well, a couple of them, but
We're carefully monitoring California's Central Valley, as well as San Diego, Los Angeles, Sacramento, and San Francisco.
by the way, in the middle of this, thanks for joining us and hanging out. I appreciate you spending your Friday with me. Some of you came in late. Our love goes out to Deirdre, and our happy birthday wishes go out to V. Gabriel on this lovely Friday. And thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Which are starting to
Do you think he's cooking the books on cases and deaths? I know for a fact he is.
stabilize and go down. We're carefully watching regions from increasing cases, including Boston and Chicago, as well as the Midwest. We're watching them all very carefully.
Why are you watching them? What's the big deal?
It's vital that all Americans work together to protect
Isn't it?
the vulnerable. For this reason, we've delivered vast amounts of protective equipment and testing supplies to
Thanks.
nursing homes
You too,
all
Auto
across
Cripple.
America. We're focused very much on the elderly, especially the elderly where they have heart problems or
At least he said problems this time. Heart problems. How hard is that?
diabetes problems. Diabetes
Okay, god damn it. He says heart problems, which is fine because he usually just says heart, and then he says diabetes problems, as if diabetes isn't a problem in and of
big
itself.
problem.
It's a big problem. Diabetes problems are problems.
Approximately half of all deaths have occurred in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. That's an incredible number when you hear half of the deaths have been in nursing homes and long-term
No, 43%. Less than half.
care.
If it was over half, you'd be screaming about it because you'd say this is good indication that we should go back to work. 43% have been in elder care facilities. Everywhere else is the majority.
Facilities, and I will tell you that I met with owners and representatives of nursing homes, and they are very, very vigilant. They're doing a very good job now. They've really done something.
You mean because they don't want the elders in their care to die? They should be. Why do you get extra credit for looking after old people for a living and not letting them die in your facility?
Thing that I think is special. They're doing very well in terms
Why is it special? As a matter of fact, that should just be baseline.
of the virus. They're
How can you call yourself an elder care facility if you allow a disease to run rampant in it?
working very hard, and a lot of things happened.
You think he's sabotaging the USPS? Yes, I think he is.
A lot of forces came together and hit the nursing homes very hard. But the representatives of nursing homes, in some cases the ownership of nursing homes, are working very hard. The federal government and the private sector
In some cases,
have delivered more than 9 million N95 masks, 27 million surgical masks, 3 million face shields, 20 million gowns, and
and a partridge in a pear tree. Jesus Christ, he's playing the hits from April.
668 million gloves to New Jersey alone. Think of that.
Okay. Hold on, I'm thinking of it. Okay.
We provided $3.4 billion to the state of New Jersey in emergency relief funding. So we happen to be in New Jersey right now, so those are great numbers. The governor's working very hard.
The Democratic governor of the poorly run Democratic state.
Governor Murphy's doing a good job. We're working very closely with him. We've also provided nearly $5 billion to New Jersey hospitals and healthcare facilities.
So this is just an ad to try and get New Jersey to vote
And
for him.
through the Paycheck Protection Program that you all know so well,
That the Democrats crafted and the Republicans signed off on 98-0.
we provided $23 billion to support more than 250,000
Thank you, Jillian. Thank
New
you, Bean Toes.
Jersey small businesses. A lot of the small business
You've, Bean Toes, you have missed a bunch of droning, sad sacky bullshit.
that you see that are opening now and going to do well, they're there because of what we did with Paycheck Protection.
What we did? You mean like the entirety of the government?
On therapeutics and vaccine updates, 3 vaccine candidates have now moved into phase 3 trials. This would be years ahead of schedule.
There is no schedule, and you can't say you're ahead of schedule if you remove the second phase.
We have done wonders with the
Here's
FDA.
ditto.
Want to thank the FDA and all of the great people there, and Dr.
For skipping all the safety requirements and allowing me to push a drug that my followers have been telling their supporters that will kill them.
Hahn. But
Thank you.
We have phase 3 trials already going on, which is most
Mehdi, in answer to your question, I'm an American.
people would have said impossible to even think about. Today, Pfizer announced that it will manufacture Gilead's drug remdesivir, where we've had tremendous success. Last
Yeah, because we're out.
week alone, my administration procured
Bought all of it.
and distributed over 120,000 vials of remdesivir, enough to
Excuse me, remdesivir.
treat more than 19,000 patients.
19,000 patients in a country of 340 million. Gee, is this? I think this is going to be like ventilators part 2. By the time they make enough remdesivir to treat a decent number of people, there are going to be 3 other treatments available that's cheaper.
Treatments continue to
Plasma. Ew.
show
Wait,
incredibly encouraging results.
Ew,
really
plasma.
incredible.
Hold on 1 second.
What's going?
Plasma.
Incredibly encouraging results. Severe, enough to treat more than 19,000 patients. Plasma treatments.
Ew, plasma treatments, everyone. Ew, plasma. Ew. Well, Mater, I'll be in the drawing room playing the grand piano while I get my plasma treatment.
Continue to show.
This is the kind of language I use when I'm trying to connect with the people, you know. The average American blue-collar worker loves the word plasma when I say to plasma.
Incredibly encouraging results.
Mike is getting tricky again? Sure.
Really incredible. What's going on? And
What
if
is
you can
going
go to a
on?
blood bank if you've had this disease and beat it. And there are a lot of people.
Hold on. Do 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 do
Would have, if you
And
could,
beat
go
it.
to a
Hold on.
blood.
Hold on, let me try.
What's going on? And plasma treatments continue
Plasma.
to show incredibly encouraging results. Really incredible. What's going on? And if you can go to a blood bank if you've had this disease and beat it.
Beat it.
And if you can go to a blood bank if you've had this disease and beat it.
Beat it.
And if you can go to a blood bank if you've had
I don't have the ability to do like staggered stuff.
this disease and
Am I staticky? I don't know what's up with this thing. I think it's interference, perhaps. Perhaps could be. I don't know. Hold on. Let me try a little monkeying business with this whole situation. Try this thing. Take this. Choose that. Go down a bit. That's going to make it much quieter, but it might actually solve some of the issues. I would think, perhaps. Maybe, perhaps. Oh no, that was yeah, that's right. So hopefully, having a rough go. I think it might be that it's just, yeah.
and beat it.
Beat it. Beat it. Get yourself some plasma, feed it.
And there are a lot of people that have. If you could.
Yeah, I can't, I'll see if I can change the audio buffer set. Maybe it's in the actual, hold on. This could be it. Hold on. Sure that this output creates noise suppression, noise gate, noise suppression, maybe perhaps with this. Turn the gain can be turned, I don't know, maybe down a touch, perhaps. Maybe the noise suppression's being a little crackly and stuff. We'll turn that off for a second. Maybe, perhaps, and I'll turn off the noise gate. Maybe it stops the crackling of it. We'll see. I'm going to give it a try. We'll mess around with it.
Go to a blood bank.
They don't give me a separate thing to change my audio output thing for the microphone.
Donate. That would be a tremendous help. The United States is only 5% of the world's population.
And we have a quarter of the deaths while you're president.
But we have conducted over 25% of the world's.
Obama was golfing. Sandy Hook made speech, went back to finish his game. Shameful to me. Oh, really? And so this is fine. So continually golfing during the entire thing. That's the whole thing. Yeah, that's your fantasy. That I'm sorry. Was there a cure for Sandy Hook he could have come up with during that part? Was there? What? Yeah.
Testing. Think of that. 5%, and we've given 25% of the world's testing. Any proper global analysis of confirmed cases must really take this into account because we're constantly showing cases.
Oh, the cases with the cases. See, the cases. Yeah, the deaths too.
Are up. Well, the reason cases are up because we're doing one of the reasons. We're doing a
One of the reasons.
If you get it in order, you get extra points. Lot of testing. We're doing much more testing than
What were the other reasons? I would guess one of those other reasons would be the disease is much more widespread in our country.
anyone else. Close to 65 million tests, where other
The cumulative.
countries have done very little testing. They'll test people if they get sick. They'll test people if they go into the hospital. They'll test certain people. We're doing tremendous testing, and we're especially doing big testing at the nursing homes. Over the last week, the testing turnaround times have declined significantly as our major commercial labs have begun pooling samples, and we've also been able to send
Yeah, it's gone down from 10 days to 7. I feel so much better. We'll be able to get back to work every single day. I know, I'll get tested on Monday, and by the following Monday, I'll actually have my test back, and I'll go to work on Tuesday, and I'll get tested that day. So I'll get the test from Monday, the following Monday, and then the following Tuesday. And by the time I get to the following Monday, I've got a new test coming in, and I'm getting a new test taken every day.
out many more
Great.
of the tests, which are the 5-minute to 15-minute result tests.
Which are the completely unreliable ones.
Testing samples from multiple patients in one batch is also something that we're very focused on and doing, but in the not-too-distant future, we'll have so many tests where it's a quick test. They call it a quick test, 5 minutes to
Why do they call it a quick test? Where would it get such a strange name?
15 minutes.
Is it? It's funny that they call it the quick test and not the quick and accurate test. The quack test.
We won't even have to worry too much about the process of sending and receiving. Because if you figure it takes a day to send and a day to receive, and let's say a day at the laboratory, that's 3 days right there. And the
Yeah. Right.
other tests, you can have them in 5 to 15 minutes. Over the next 2 weeks,
Whether or not they're accurate or not is like that. I don't mean to quibble.
I'll be pursuing a major executive order requiring health insurance companies to cover all pre-existing conditions for all customers. That's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll see you in court. How are you going to get them to do that? What? And by the way, including COVID-19, if you lost half your lung, he's just gonna write an executive order. Why bother crafting a bill and actually making it happen? Why not keep the ACA, which does that protection? But he's just gonna write an executive order that forces companies to do something that is not in their fiduciary interest, with no other way of making up that shortfall or making money to pay their workers. It's not, I mean, these aren't government companies. I'm for covering people with pre-existing conditions. That's why there was a mandate in the Affordable Care Act, but he got that stripped out. So how can you executive order people to do that? It's just not possible.
I've always been very strongly in favor. We have to cover pre-existing conditions.
How? You're not covering it if you just write an executive order and make them cover it. Again, these are private companies. This is private insurance. You want to make an argument that, like, we'll cover it in a public option, I'm with you. It's why I'm voting for Joe Biden. He's for a public option. But the private companies, to cover all these pre-existing conditions, have to have some other aspect to make up for that. Otherwise, they'll just go broke.
We will be pursuing a major executive order.
Pursuing a major executive order.
Requiring health insurance companies to cover all pre-existing conditions for all of its customers.
How?
This has never
How?
been done before, but it's time the people of our country are
It has been done before. The ACA had it as a provision of law that it covers that you cover pre-existing conditions.
properly represented and properly taken care of.
How are you taking care of it? Are you just going to drown them in costs and they'll just fall apart?
This follows a series of executive orders to lower drug prices and lower prescription drug prices, and significantly, we had the
Can't pass any laws. He has the Senate. Most of the things he's asking for have already passed the House as far as lowering drug prices and those kind of things. The Senate is what's stopping it. The Republicans, Mitch McConnell specifically, is not calling these things. These executive orders do nothing. And this one in particular is, we're going to pursue an executive order very strongly that will protect. What does that even mean?
only
I don't think he's
year,
taking questions, Richard McNeil. Maybe he is.
which was last year, where drug prices went down in 51 years.
Yeah, because of a number of drugs that were made that went into the public domain last year.
But we're talking about going down at a level that nobody has even thought possible now,
Why did they not think it was possible? Oh, because Republicans are against it.
even though the drug companies are running very big ads on me, but that's usually a reason. They're not too happy. They can't be too thrilled. But they've made
Does he think the Lincoln Project is a pharmaceutical lobby?
a lot of money over the years, and prices just go up. Not fair. This includes a landmark executive order requiring drug companies to change Americans and charge Americans.
Change or charge Americans. Change Americans. They're just going to swap them right out.
No more.
Dude, if you make a mistake in a speech like that because you misread it, because the N looked like an R on your piece of paper and you'd never seen the speech before you walked up, just say, excuse me, charge.
Then
Listen
they
to
charge
this.
to foreign countries. Order requiring drug companies to change Americans and charge Americans
Both. To both change and charge.
no more than
They would change Europeans. They're gonna are we all getting changed? Are the pharmaceutical companies gonna come over and I need new pants. Let's do this. Meet me by the bath.
they charge to foreign countries. So they have to charge Americans no more than
They would change them into Norwegians.
they charge to foreign countries. That means our country can't be charged more.
Or changed more.
So if Germany gets drugs at
Changed.
a very small or low price,
Small or low price. Small prices. Small prices. Big savings. We're Germany. Auf Wiedersehen.
and we're paying many times that price in the United States because we pay for all of the research, the development, the promotion,
Not all of it, but yeah,
and other things,
and other things.
we will get what's called a favored nations clause we're going to have. And I signed a favored nations clause.
You didn't sign a favored nations clause. You signed an executive order to implement a favored nations clause after a 45-day review period, but at which time they would set up a commission wherein the commission would study why these other countries have this. And what they're going to discover in their little commission by making one fucking phone call is that they have national health services in all these countries.
So that the United States, which is the number one purchaser of drugs by far in the world, biggest purchaser in the world, not
I don't think that's true. Maybe we spend more, but we don't buy more drugs than India does.
even close.
Yeah, it would. The European Union buys a bunch of stuff in bulk.
You have other countries that are bigger. If you look at India, China, etc.,
Right.
not too many. But we have countries that are bigger, but not even close in terms of ordering drugs with a
Maybe our consumption of some of those drugs is part of the problem?
number one country in the world. But we have a favored nation, so if somebody has a drug,
Oh my God, we're going to get an explanation of favored
in
nations.
many cases it comes from a plant,
Thank you, Joyce.
the same plant. It comes
Much
from,
love.
it's the same pill, it's the same medicine or medication.
Oh, is it? Or, yeah, just any of those things?
Medicine and medical and what we're doing. Whatever the lowest country charges. So if
It's a great story, bro.
Germany charges 10 cents for a pill and we charge $2,
Yeah, dude, he got past this. He went to pennies and dollars with Lou Dobbs, and now he's back to 10 cents and $2.
I only use Germany as
Christ.
an example, then
I only use Germany as an example because I hate them and their country is run by a woman.
we get that for 10 cents. So what's going to happen is that's going to go up a little bit and ours is going to come down a whole lot. So it's
This is so exciting.
favored nations, and I will tell
Thank
you
you.
that Big Pharma is not happy. For too long, we've been forced to subsidize cheaper drug prices in foreign countries. We've subsidized them to a level that nobody can believe. Nobody talked about it.
Thank you, Benny Loco, and remind everybody to give a thumbs up and a like and subscribe to the page. Thanks for hanging out with me on your Friday. Hope you're okay.
Everybody wondered how
We're almost done.
every president
And the radio show's tomorrow, 9 to 11 a.m.
that runs for office says they're going to lower drug prices, and they never do. They go through the roof.
Through the rife.
Over the last administration, they went up like skyrocketing.
Like skyrocketing.
Skyrocket.
Did they?
That's Biden. Biden's not going to be able to do it. He has no clue.
Good hard sell. We felt it. Like that was, I mean, I don't even know why they bother to write ads. Why don't you just, at the end of this, say, I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message. You're kicking ass, bruh.
So
Do that again.
like skyrocketing.
Skyrockets in flight. Biden's afternoon delight.
Skyrocketing. That's Biden. Biden's not going to be able to do it. He has no clue. So what's happening is
Look at the chuckle from the audience. Laugh quick. Like, I think they're laughing because you have no clue.
are going to be working to get rid of all the subsidy to foreign lands, and we're going to give essentially all of the benefit that, frankly, they have as great negotiators. Those benefits are going to go to our people. So it's called a favored nations clause, and you can look it up and you can see, and nobody's had the courage to institute it, to call it, because it's a very big step. But it's something that is going to drive drug prices down 50, 60, maybe even 70%. Talking about numbers that are unbelievable. I also signed an
Yeah, I agree. These numbers are not believable.
executive order stopping middlemen from taking advantage of Medicare
Oh, the middleman, the evil middle. Nobody even knows what they do.
patients by charging higher prices to them and pocketing the discounts for themselves. These are some of the richest people
They're so rich.
in the world.
Nobody knows what
Everyone
they do.
talked about middlemen. I've heard about them for years
I've heard about middlemen for
on
years too.
prescription drug prices.
Yeah.
Middlemen.
Middlemen.
I guess you'd have to say to be
Steve Middleman. He's a comedian. He was in Roxanne. You know, I've heard about him.
politically correct, middlemen and women.
You got to say both because some of them are women in theory.
But you never heard the middle woman before. You heard middlemen. That's the term. And, you know, say what you want about the drug companies, but at least the drug companies produce a product. They produce the pill, they produce the medicine, the medication.
Right.
But these people make billions and billions of dollars. I don't know who they are, but they're very rich.
I don't know. Geez, it's almost like you're talking about hedge funds.
But they won't be so rich anymore.
Yeah, how do hedge funds people get rich? They don't make anything, and they don't buy the actual stocks themselves to hold on to them and invest in the companies. Gee whiz.
What this executive order requires, these $30 billion
Somebody coughing in the background. Okay, there's your super spreader.
in discounts to go straight to the American patients. So the middleman's going to be knocked out,
No.
and I'm going to lose a lot.
In this case, the middleman is the U.S. government. We're just the buyer of choice, and we're buying through Medicare and Medicaid these drugs. In theory, I mean, can't actually do it, but whatever.
Of friends, even though I have no idea who these people are.
I'm gonna lose some friends, even though I don't know who they are. Oh, so that's what his idea of friends. People, I have no idea.
On opioids,
That is hilarious.
I'm pleased to announce that my administration invested an additional $100 million to fight the opioid crisis in rural America. In the midst of the China virus pandemic, we also keep fighting
you,
to end
Richard.
the opioid epidemic, and we've done very well.
Thank you, Jennifer. Screw the middleman from Thailand.
We've
Great.
done, it was prior to the
Thanks for the host, Flang Doodle.
virus, we were down 18, 19, and 20%. But when you think about it, that means that you have 80%, and that's not acceptable.
He has no idea how fractions or percentages work, does he?
The wall is going up. We have 276 miles of wall. It's having a tremendous impact on drugs coming into our country.
Does he think if opioid deaths are down, which I mean is one of the few bipartisan issues that's out there that both sides are working on fairly regularly. Nobody shuts down any of the anti-opioid stuff that's gone through the Congress. Stuff pretty much sails through and gets signed. But does he think that if it goes down by 18%, it's going up by 72% or 82%? Yeah, 82%. Is that what he thinks? If it goes down by 18%, it's going up. The other 82% is going up. Is that what he thinks? Is that how he thinks statistics work? Like
already, it'll be finished toward the end of the.
I know the droning is just. This is more boring than golf.
Here, and it's had a very, very big impact on Portland.
Oh God.
Finally, I'd like to address that situation.
Oh, good. You're going to end on Portland.
Portland is a disaster. It's been a.
Excuse me. Portlandia is on Netflix right now, and it's charming as shit. It's a weird little city, but bless their heart, they keep on trying.
Disaster for many, many years. Brave federal law enforcement officers single-handedly saved the federal courthouse in Portland from.
Single-handedly, because they had one arm tied behind because in one hand, they couldn't use it because they had tear gas in it? I don't know.
Lawless rioters and agitators.
Rioters. Oh, you mean rioters?
And anarchists, that's what they are.
Yeah, anarchists. And who's really going to clean up the anarchist vote this time around? I mean, where do you even send their ballot?
When you find Molotov cocktails in somebody's knapsack and they say, "No, I'm just here to have a good time."
Yeah, that's what happens. Just
soup for my family.
Molotov cocktail for my family.
These are really sick, disturbed people. The disgraced mayor of the city has ordered the police to stand down in the face of rioters, leaving his citizens.
Rioters. In the face of riots. It sounds like you're saying writers. Like Tom Hartman is standing in the middle of the street getting tear gas.
At the mercy of this mob. He was at the mercy of the mob, too. If you saw him go out there the other day, it was terrible. He went out there and they wanted to rip him apart.
Keep telling the story, bro. Yeah, I bet you could walk out without tear gas. I love how he's like, the Portland mayor had to have 5 bodyguards to go out on the street in the middle of a riot, and people were yelling at him. He thought he was a hero, and he got treated like shit. Meanwhile, this asshole cleared a street using tear gas, pepper spray, pepper balls, and riot police so that he could have a photo op in front of a church he doesn't go to holding a Bible upside down. You think does Trump actually think he could walk the streets safely as the president of the United States, like any president could?
But fortunately, he had 5 people with him.
You had over a dozen officers with riot shields opening the street so you could get a picture in front of a church.
Security. Mayor Wheeler has
Thank you, Lisa.
abdicated his duty and surrendered his city to the mob. As a result, the mob descended upon a police precinct and tried to burn it down, tear it down, rip it down.
Yeah, they no.
An act of attempted murder. Left-wing violent extremism poses an increasing threat to our country, and we stop it. You have no idea how much we stop.
Why wouldn't we know how much we stop? If you catch people and you charge them, then there would be trials, and we could see people who are being charged.
But it's an ideology we have to stop.
Along with the Boogaloo Boys, I guess you're going to mention those guys too, the ones who've been hiding in amongst the BLM protests and throwing rocks and batteries and frozen bottles of water and bottles of piss and Molotov cocktails.
When you commit arson, this is a quote from the mayor. He's come a long way, just made this quote. When you commit arson with an accelerant in the attempt to burn down a building that is occupied by people who have intentionally been trapped inside, you're not a demonstrator or you're not demonstrating, said Mayor Whalen. You are attempting to commit murder. That's come a long way. He's come.
No, No, it isn't. That's what they've been saying all along. They arrest those people. By the way, this is what Biden said a week ago. This is why he's even mentioning this shit.
A long way when he made that statement. What you're
I do indeed.
seeing
Andy.
in Portland is the radical left's agenda in action. Portland is their roadmap for America. If the radical left gets in and they treat Joe Biden as a puppet, he's merely a puppet.
Is he? Really? You mean he's made 10 calls to Vladimir Putin in the last 8 weeks?
But if the radical left gets in, they look at Portland as a thing that they want. That's what they
It's a thing that they want. You mean as an example? Is that the word you were looking for?
want. Why? Who knows? Doesn't matter. To
Why? Who knows? I just made it up in my head. So why the
different
shit not?
thinking, but it's a mess.
That's if the radical left gets in, what they really want is people to trap people in a building and set it on fire. This, I mean, did you see AOC's Red New Deal, where Marxist sympathizers can set fires wherever they want and use the heat for energy to power vegan ice cream trucks?
Map for
Horrible.
America. If the radical left gets in, and they,
You know, you do realize that Biden beat Sanders worse than Hillary did.
treat Joe Biden as a puppet.
He's a puppet. Yeah, that's why his two lead contenders in the news right now are Kamala Harris and Susan Rice.
A puppet. But if the radical left gets in, they look at Portland as a
Say it.
thing that they want. That's what they
A
want.
thing that they want.
Why? Who knows? Doesn't matter. It's a different thinking, but it's a mess. And I want to thank Homeland Security.
As a Democrat, just for the record, I do not want ongoing riots in the street and assholes attempting to burn down buildings with people in them. Just in case that needs to be said, for the record, as a Biden voter.
Done a fantastic job. We had our people go in. They stopped any intrusion into
Chachens, thank you for just the Master of Puppets reference.
the
Period.
courthouse. And the courthouse was saved, and other federal buildings were saved. And we would like to be asked by the mayor.
Since they left, all the rioters and the anarchists and the agitators have all moved out of downtown, and the police precinct that they attacked is 6 miles away.
Governor, we will go in and stop the problems in Portland in 24 hours, just like we did in Minneapolis after they really hurt that city.
Yeah, the day after they started going down, you showed up and went, well, that was easy. It's almost as if people weren't really rioting.
The National Guard went in and did a phenomenal job. It was over in 3 hours after watching
Because you were unnecessary.
6 days of horror. It ended in 3 hours. You also
It's almost like Terrence Floyd, George Floyd's brother, called for peace.
the scene of them walking right down the street.
Like a knife through butter.
It was actually
Like a knife through butter.
an unfortunate view, but an incredible view of how to do things. So we would be able to
Oh, he didn't do knife through butter. I'm very disappointed.
solve the Portland situation immediately, but we are supposed to be asked. If we're not asked, and if it continues, we'll have to make a decision. But it's a very easy thing for us to do. We could stop it very quickly. It's been going on now for 76 days. But our buildings are very secure. If the Democrats controlled in Washington, the Democrats' control of Washington, they'd pass with all of the things they do.
Okay, is this past tense or present tense, asshole? Get it together.
Legislation
Hold on, wait, what?
controlled and
Hold on, say it again.
quickly.
Here we go.
It's been going on now for 76 days.
76 days. Portland's a brand new city. Okay,
But our buildings are very secure.
good to know.
If the Democrats controlled in Washington, the Democrats' control of Washington, they'd pass with all of the things they do, legislation gutting every single police department in America. They truly do. Many of these people wanted to fund the police department. At a minimum, they're going to stop money from going to the police department, but in many cases, they actually wanted to fund completely the police department. No city, no town.
Yeah, those people are have nothing to do with Biden's campaign, for the record. He beat those people, you could argue.
And no suburb would be safe.
Uh-oh, suburbs. You guys better vote for me, or otherwise the Black Lives Matter, the blam, they're going to come for you. The Black Lives Anarchists matter. The balm of Black Anarchists Lives Matter are going to come for you.
Your suburbs would be a disaster. Your cities, your towns would be a disaster. They want every city to be a Portland or to be a Chicago.
Do we? Really? That's what we want? That's what Democrats and the radical left, they want every day just fire. Nobody can go to work. Nobody can raise kids. Nobody can go to school. Nobody can learn a trade. Nobody can, like, help end homelessness. They just want people like, people who are trying to volunteer and help the homeless on the street. It's just there's no challenge to it unless you have to do it, unless you can do it under a hail of flying batteries and frozen bottles of piss and Molotov cocktails. You know what I mean? It just it's a little more interesting that way. I mean, otherwise you're just doing something altruistic, and who the shit wants to do that? I mean, that's boring. Not as boring as this, but...
Which is totally out of control, and we're waiting for the mayor. We've sent people in to help them from an intelligence standpoint, but we're waiting
apparently that's working.
for them to...
We sent people in from an intelligence standpoint, and apparently it created a deficit. The IQs in the area went down.
Oh, the governor, the mayor. We could do a very good job in Chicago. Nobody's ever seen anything like that.
We just roll through and shoot everybody.
This country.
That's what Chicago needs, is more shootings.
And yet, nationwide, numbers are good despite the Chicagos and the Portlands, and frankly, the New Yorks, when you look at what's happened in New York. 348% increase in the last number of months. Nobody's seen anything like that. So
No. Detroit, not on the list. L.A., San Francisco, Seattle. None of those make the list anymore?
to me, it's so sad because I love New York. And
Yeah, that's why you moved out and why you can't have a charity there anymore, because you scammed people.
it's so sad. And all it is horrible, horrible, incompetent management by politicians that truly don't know what they're doing. So just like
Project much?
we saved the courthouse, we will
Oh,
save
God,
the United
no.
States of America. And a vast majority of people agree with me.
Not according to the polls, but
Vast majority. Most people. They don't speak up as much as they could.
yeah, that's your problem, people, is that you're not answering the polls. They're calling you up and they're going, do you support Donald Trump? And to prove you support Donald Trump, you're hanging up the phone.
But we know they're there, and everybody
We know they're there. My internal polling tells me that I'm
else
doing
knows
great.
they're there too. So with that, I'll take a few questions from
Oh, shit.
the media. They've been here for a long time, and they've been
Yeah, they have.
waiting outside for a long time, and they
Oh,
wait for
God.
these moments. So it's
These moments, these magic moments.
a lot of fun. Please, go ahead. No, you, go ahead.
No, you go. By the way, there's very little time left in this, so he bails out.
I have a couple of questions on the negotiations with Capitol Hill on the
Yeah.
Congress legislation. These executive orders you mentioned, do you have a timeline on when you're going to sign them, or?
Yeah, it could be by the end of the week. They're being drawn by the lawyers right now. They work very nicely. It would be nice to be able
They work very nicely. I had some other lawyers. They were loud and kind of obnoxious, very New Yorky. These guys play nice together or whatever. They have little tea times, and then they do they draw, and they make nice picture, and I sign nice picture.
to do it with the Democrats, but they're really just interested in one thing, and that's protecting people that have not done a good job in managing cities and states, and nothing to do with COVID, nothing to do with, or little to do. They want to be able to make up for many, many years, in some cases decades of bad management. We can't do that. So that's what they want. They want to do that, and we don't want to do that.
Are you concerned about the legality of these executive orders?
No, not at all. No, if somebody, well, you always get sued. I mean, everything you do, you get sued. I was sued on the travel ban, and we won. I was sued on a lot of things, and we won. So we'll see. Yeah, probably we get sued, but
You'll get sued and you'll lose.
people feel that we can do it. Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, the intelligence agencies today said
Is he dozing off? Because I feel like maybe I'm projecting.
that Russia is already meddling in this year's election to hurt Joe Biden, and that China is considering meddling to hurt you. Do you believe that intelligence, and what do you plan to do about it?
It could be. I mean, I could be very much. I think that the last person Russia wants to see in office is Donald Trump, because nobody's been tougher on Russia than I am.
Because you had to sign the sanctions that were passed through Congress.
Ever.
That's not
Because the Obama sanctions came in while you were in office.
Well, I don't care what anybody says. Nobody
Wait a minute. What did the dude say? Is that
with
what-
any common sense would
That's-
say, do it. Look at what we've done with our military. Look at what we've done. And not million, billion goes
Hold
to
on.
Russia. Look at all of the things we've done with NATO, where I've raised 130 billion.
I want to see. The guy said
Anybody
something.
says that. Nobody. The last person Russia wants to see in office is Donald Trump, because nobody's been tougher on Russia than I have ever.
That's not what the intelligence
Well, I don't care what
That's not what the intelligence says.
anybody
The guy
says.
says.
Nobody. No.
I don't care what anybody says. Why should I listen to look, Russia tells me what to say and I say it. I don't care what our people
Nobody
say.
with any common sense would say, do it. Look at what we've done with our military. Look at what we've done in exposing the pipeline with billions of dollars going to Russia. Look at all of the things.
Exposing the pipeline? What are you talking about? You mean Germany getting most of their energy from there? Yeah, you were undermining Ukraine so that they couldn't have a functioning oil and gas sector that would provide Europe oil and gas, so that Russia would be the only source they could rely on. And then you point out, like, the option, you're not partly responsible for that singular option.
Done with NATO, where I've raised $130 billion a year from countries that were delinquent, and now they're paying all of this money. And the 130, by the way, $130 billion, not million, billion, goes to 400 billion over a few years. And that's all money to protect against Russia. China would love us to have an election where Donald Trump lost to Sleepy Joe Biden. They would dream, they would own our country. If Joe Biden.
Why? The Obama-Biden administration was working on TPP. China hated the TPP because it took every other country except China and tried to balance their trade advantage over Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Taiwan, South Korea, and to some degree some businesses in Hong Kong that are, kind of maintain their independence from China itself. Japan. Why in the world?
Was president, China would own our country. And you said another country. What was the third country?
No, just those two.
Thanks, James.
No, you didn't say that in the report. The report said Iran also, but you didn't say that.
I didn't.
Iran would love to see me. Iran would love to see me not be president. And I'll make this statement: if and when we win, we will make deals with Iran very quickly. We'll make deals with North Korea very quickly. And what
That I believe.
happened to the war in North Korea? You haven't seen that, have you?
What war in North Korea?
If I didn't win the election in 2016.
Oh, we would have been at war with North Korea.
Our country would now be, maybe it would be over by now, but in
Like Hillary would have won it by now.
war with North Korea. Everybody said, oh, Trump will get us in war. No, just the opposite. And we actually have a relationship with North
Trump 2020. I can prove every
Korea,
negative.
which is something that was never established by the previous
Joe is a racist. Grow up.
administration. You would have been in war with North Korea, and it would have been a very bad war. So North Korea, whether you look
Not like one of the good wars.
Iran, every one of them will make a deal with us very quickly. Iran is dying to make a deal, but they want to see, because they'd much rather make a deal with Biden, because if they make it,
Because he'll keep the deal. Because he'll make a deal and stick with it, as opposed to scuttle a deal. Because he'll actually keep his word about a deal that the United States. He looks himself as a representative of the United States, and while he might modify a deal or tighten it because there are elements in the Iran deal, for example, that allow them to constrict it or expand it based on behavior, he would stay within the actual framework of an actual negotiated deal, which is with view. There is no deal. No deal means anything with Trump. He will scuttle it the second he's just tired of it. If he doesn't like it, he'll negotiate a whole deal, the USMCA, something like that, and in his own mind, he can just drop it whenever he wants to.
deal with the United States, if China makes a deal with the United States with Biden in charge, they would own our country. Look what I've done. I've taken billions, tens of billions of dollars from China. China
$68 billion of U.S. taxpayer money went to buy the $50 billion that the Chinese government was supposed to buy of our foodstuffs, and now what they're buying $12 billion of it, of the 50,
Was having the worst
because all their pigs died.
year they've had in 67 years.
That's still true.
We were having the best year we've ever had, with big tax cuts, with big regulation cuts. We've rebuilt our military. We became independent in terms of energy, with
We've been independent in terms of energy since Obama.
the energy leader of the world. We were having the best year we've ever had. By the way, African American, Asian American, Hispanic American unemployment numbers, the best in the history of our country. All things, and
All going in the same direction they were going during the last 3 years of Obama after recovering.
the other groups too, including women, including high school
Excuse me, middle women.
diploma, no high school diploma, college diploma.
Dumb women, hot women, short women, women who are your daughter, but you still look at them as a woman because yowza.
Everybody was doing better.
Ghislaine Maxwell was doing better.
The last thing that Russia wants, and China wants, and Iran wants would be for Donald Trump to win. Yes, please,
Just
go
to
ahead.
follow up, what do you plan to do about that interference, sir?
Well, we're going to look at it very closely. You tell me that this came out a little while ago, and I've heard that it came out. It came out.
This is the first he's hearing of it. Yes, Russia and China and Iran are messing around with our election. The Iranians have done it. They're very poor at it. The Russians are very good at it. The Chinese have been monkeying around with it a little bit, but it's mostly minor and personality-based
Just a
stuff.
little while.
The Russians are the ones actually posing as Black Lives Matter, posing as right-wingers, posing as Trump. They just got kicked. A bunch of them got kicked off of Facebook.
Ago, and we're going to look at
Absolutely
that very
insane.
closely. But you started off with Russia.
Russia.
Why don't you start off with China? Do you think
Because Russia's the problem.
China's maybe a bigger threat?
No, they're not.
And I think maybe it is. I mean, you'll
Why, if you have a great relationship with Xi Jinping, why are they a bigger threat?
have to figure it out. But we're going to watch all of them. We have to be very careful. The biggest risk that we have is mail-in ballots, because
Right, which is a line that Russia is pushing.
with the mail-in ballots, called universal mail-in ballots, it is a much easier thing for a foreign power, whether it's Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, many others, people, countries you wouldn't expect. It's much easier for
Finland, Papua New Guinea,
them to forge ballots and
they're going to forge ballots. Now, the signatures and the UPC symbols that are on the ballots won't match the ones at the Secretary of State's office unless the federal government allows those countries to break into the Secretary of State's offices and steal the computer programs that print them.
send them in. It's much easier for them to
If the Angry Orange was a person with no sense of humor, right?
with universal mail-in ballots. So I think one of the things we'll have to look at is exactly that. But that's a big problem.
Yeah, bigger than Russia, China, and Iran. It's really mail-in ballots. The fucking postal service.
That's a big problem. You saw in New York, they called the winner, but they have no idea what the vote is. Please, go ahead.
Mr.
Yes, they do.
President, we've watched these negotiations go on for weeks. Do you think if you had been more directly involved, we would be in a different position?
No, I'm totally
today?
involved. No, I think
I'm totally involved, so of course
they call
not.
me all the time. They tell me how they're doing with Nancy and Chuck. But in my opinion, they're just using it as an excuse to try and, Chuck Schumer came out with a strong statement today that you have to get back into school because it's good for the economy, but he doesn't do it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we're at 56 people as regular viewers in Twitch. Thanks, Twitch. You guys are awesome. And thanks, everybody, for hosting.
Practice what he
down there.
preaches. No, my people, Steve Mnuchin, and our wonderful chief of staff, Mark Meadows, they're constantly on the phone with me. I'm totally involved with it.
Then you're not involved. They're just telling you what they are doing. What she means is, what if you were there, Mr. Art of the Deal, negotiating on behalf of the Republican side of the argument? But you don't understand any of these factors, and you can't be bothered because it'll interrupt your golf game. So you're just sending people down, representatives, to do the actual negotiating for you, and they just call you. You're not actually making any part of the deal. Apparently, the art of the deal is being nowhere near the site of the deal as it's made.
And we are going to do it in a way that's just much easier. We gave them their chance, but they view it as an election enhancement. You talk about foreign countries. cheating on the election. Well, the Democrats are cheating on the election because that's exactly what they're doing. If you look at what they're doing, even with these negotiations, that's an influence and an unfair influence on an election. But we're going to win anyway. Yeah, please go ahead.
How is it an unfair influence? You can judge what they're doing and what they accomplish in that time.
Why haven't you spoken to Speaker Pelosi, though? We're at this historic moment. Why haven't you spoken to her?
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'll see if I speak to her. I might speak to her.
But right now, they're not ready, and
I just got a letter about my mail-in ballot, a signature check. I've never had that problem. I have to show identification to prove
they're
it's
not
my
ready
signature.
because,
Yeah.
frankly, I don't think they care about people. I think
Yeah, they don't care about people.
they care about their politicians that have done a terrible job running the cities and states, Democrat cities and states that are
The biggest economies in the country and some of the biggest economies in the world.
eating money, that have been so badly run. You take a look at Baltimore, and you take a look at so many different cities, including the ones I've already mentioned. Take a look at what's going on. And they want lots of money to keep it going. For many years, they've been bad. So all I'm doing is we're having it out. We're finally having it out. Yeah, please.
You mean black cities? Is that what he's saying? Dude, is this him expanding his base?
Mr. President, if you
Yeah, Baltimore.
go ahead on your own on
As if, by the way, that when you want monies for the shortfalls in these states like Maryland, that basically in his mind it's going to go all to Baltimore. It's going to pay a bunch of black people not to work when they really are just worried about prison anyways. He got prison reform done, criminal justice reform, and that's where his brain goes. Like violent cities and criminal justice. That's his two black issues.
unemployment insurance. I'm wondering where you're going to get the money to pay for that without Congress, and will people still
He can't. But
get $600
Yeah,
a week?
we have the money. We have the money.
They'll still get $600
Yeah.
a week?
I won't say that
that.
yet. You'll see that when it happens, but we have the money.
Will you say what number?
We have it, Justin. We have plenty of money. Yeah, please go ahead.
We have plenty of money, but they're not going to get $600 a week.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said that the pandemic is disappearing, but we lost 6,000 Americans this week. And just in this room, you have dozens of people who are not following the guidelines in New Jersey, which say you should not have.
No, they don't have to. This is a political activity.
Look at that, he's getting booed for bringing up the fact that they're not wearing masks.
You're wrong
Dude, it's a private golf course.
on that because it's a political activity. They have exceptions, political activity.
Wait, why is it an exception for a political activity? What are you talking about?
And it's,
Huh?
no, they don't have to. This is a political activity.
You don't have to wear masks at a political activity.
You're wrong on that because it's a political activity. They have exceptions, political activity, and it's also a peaceful protest. So
Oh, I see. So the people at Bedminster Golf Course who aren't wearing masks are peacefully protesting.
you have, and as you know,
Yeah, this is yeah.
they asked if they could be.
They asked if they could be.
A number of, and to me, they look like they pretty much all have masks on. But, you have an exclusion in the law. It says peaceful protest or political activity, right?
Yeah, but why is it a political activity to not wear a mask? Why are you telling your followers that it is a positive political act to not wear a mask?
In fact, specifically, yeah, it says exactly political activity or peaceful protest. And you could call it political activity, but I'd call it peaceful protest because they
Why? Why is this a protest?
heard you were coming up. And they know the news is fake. They understand it better than anybody. And they asked whether or not.
What you mean, golf club members?
They asked whether or not they can be here. Like the question about Russia. He doesn't mention Iran was in the report. He doesn't mention, or he mentions very late that China was in the report, because that's the way they are. They're not. If the press in this country were honest, it wasn't corrupt, if it wasn't fake, our country would be so much further ahead. But we're doing really great. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
Jesus Christ. Wow. You guys, I appreciate you hanging in for that one. That was a longer one than I thought it would be. Because I thought we were just going to be doing the Lou Dobbs thing and getting out because he wasn't going to have a gathering, so we started late with that. I don't know why he considers it a peaceful protest to not wear a mask. Does anybody Does anybody get that? And why he would be okay with that? He would go, some people view this as a protest. Now, I recommend that everybody wear a mask when you can't socially distance, and we're all in a small room here. It would be best if everybody wore a mask. He could tell his supporters to do that as a way of supporting his attempt to recover the country from COVID-19. So yeah. So and by the way, to all the folks out there in media land who are talking about Trump's change in tone, he just called not wearing a mask a peaceful act of political protest. Like, how stupid. Ridiculous. I adore you guys. I'm going to have a Friday night, and then I've got radio tomorrow, 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific time. The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, old-fashioned terrestrial radio. That's right. I'm on the real radio, not podcast. You can get it as a podcast on the Sexy Liberal Podcasting Network. It's the Hal Sparks Radio Podcast, Mega Worldwide, which is like my show, like in an hour chunk with the ads taken out. Thank you, Chris LeBoy. But in all honesty, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like that's the piece of this that should stand out more than anything. If they're going to clip a piece of this, besides his nonsense that he's created 10 million jobs or something, which is just insanity in the last 3 months or something, that there's new jobs, what he needs to be reminded of, and what the public needs to be reminded of, is that he's still anti-mask. He's still undermining the mask message, and literally ended on the note of, well, you're fake news, and they're not wearing masks is an act of peaceful political protest. My supporters, people that show their support for me, don't wear masks and won't wear masks as a sign of protest and a political action. That's pathetic. I want to thank Arlene for the super chat, and Steve Roberts, thank you, and Georgina Poole, thank you, and Gazank, and Benny Loco, thank you for reminding everybody to give a thumbs up. Thank you. Make America America again. Out with Dirty Donnie, indeed. James Harmon, thank you so much. Trump 2020. We'll see what happens. It is what it is. You have no idea what we've been doing. Legacy, thanks for the follow. Janice, thank you for the super chat as well. Lisa888, thank you so much. Richard Fleer, bless you, thank you. Benny Loco, of course. Jennifer Ilrig, Rig. I'm going to call it Rig. It's like an LH or a capital I. I can't tell from the thing, but we'll just call it that. Flang Doodle, thank you for the host. Joyce, thank you so much. Appreciate it, you guys. Princess PTV, thank you for the bits on Twitch. You guys on Twitch have been fantastic. And Jennifer, thank you again. Melinda Bean Toes, thank you. Jillian, Melinda Campbell, thank you for the super chat. Amanda, thank you for the follow. Sarah, thank you for the bits. She dropped by and had to take off, but she dropped in to throw us some bits our way. That was lovely. Thank you again. Can't Stop Lying. Deirdre, we love you, and we're so sorry about your loss. We all send our love. And V. Gabriel, happy birthday to you. Cherish every day. We cherish you. We're glad you're with us. Matt Whitaker, thank you. And Osama number 5, the 1111, you're right on the money and sharp as a tack. Thank you. I agree. Well spotted. Sarah, again, thank you. Beanbutt303 for the subscribe on Prime. Thank you. William O'Connor, thank you. Connie. Stripey Poo, I don't know quite how I'm supposed to feel about that part of it. Rob Glenn, thank you, brother, as always. Ninka Crinkles and Supercard Prince and James Black, thank you. And Obso and Martine, you guys are crazy. This is just fantastic. Philly Dana and Mike Engels, thank you for the for handing out those subscriptions on Twitch. That was really nice, you guys. Don't forget you can support the show by becoming one of our increasingly robust number of Patreon supporters. I adore you guys, and I appreciate your support. It means a lot, and it's making the show into something worth watching. I may even be able to afford another mic soon. And in the process, I appreciate that. If that's not your thing, you can go to paypal.me/HalSparks and help with the show that way. You can buy merch and wear t-shirts and all that stuff, either on Streamlabs or on here, down below in the Teespring. Or you can just watch the show. You can just come in, laugh with us, hang out, watch the news stuff, laugh along with me, have a little fun, survive it, recognize that, you know, we can shed some of our anxiety and worry while we, you know, pay attention, but don't let it pay attention to us. you know, and enjoy ourselves a little bit and have a little bit of camaraderie. If that's all you can do right now because of where you are and you're uncertain about things, you are absolutely welcome every single day, and we're lucky to have you as well. So thanks, everybody, and even the folks, okay, Periscope and Facebook, you guys are all right, even though you're freeloading on our patrons, you bastards. But you can support us that way if you want as well, just by showing up in there. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Thank you so much, Can't Stop Lying. Thank you. Hold on one sec. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate that greatly. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning for the radio show. Have a great night. Happy Friday.
And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup for my family. They're so innocent. This is soup for my family.
Oh, yeah.
Wildlife refuges. I mean, you look at this, you look at what we do with our wildlife. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags.
A chat with you and somehow death loses its sting.
They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat a-hole? Butthole! What do you say we cut the chit-chat a-hole? How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
Wildlife refuges. I mean, you look at this, you look at what we do with our wildlife.
Would you classify that as a launch problem or a design problem?
A lot of very bad things are happening in Nicaragua. You'll have nobody guarding your potatoes. We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Carrot.
That's great psychology. Why don't you just say something bad about my mother?
That was really cool, by the way. That was really cool, by the way.
I feel no shame, only pride, because my syphilis is a badge of honor.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
I love Leia. We need you. Hell, I need you. I'm a mess without you. I miss you so damn much. I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh. I miss your scent. I miss your musk. When this all gets sorted out, I think you and me should get an apartment together.
Sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Something strange happened to me this morning. Was it a dream where you see yourself standing in sort of sun god robes on a pyramid with 1,000 naked women screaming and throwing little pickles at you? No. Am I the only person that